Good afternoon and good evening. Welcome to the OCR Report's coverage of Spartan Race's third stop in their United States National Series. We have done the sprint, we have done the super. Jack Bauer today joining me here. We arrive at the third stop, which is the Beast Distance, a full 13 miles with 4,600 feet of gain at altitude.
It's going to be a nasty course out there. We've seen Utah as part of the US National Series race in 2018, 2019, 21, and 23 or 22. It took a break in 2023 when they did the 3K series, but we're back in Utah. It's a beast. Let's take a look at the race.
Yeah, let's see this map that has given us, this venue has given us some pretty spectacular battles over the years. This is I believe, 13-mile race. We'll see here, 4,600 feet. We essentially have a two-part race. We have a large climb and a large descent, followed by a larger climb and a larger descent. And then after that, that descent brings us down to the festival grounds with an obstacle gauntlet. We'll get into the obstacles later, but we are finishing with a nearly 5-mile gradual, sometimes steep, downhill bomb to the finish. We haven't seen many courses like this, Jack. I'm excited for this.
I was a rabbit here in 2022, and you did a great job describing what the course is going to be like. That we just saw the course map on the northwest side. There's like a 3-mile section in a row with basically only a couple of obstacles, and you're just going downhill a couple miles. Then you got to go right back uphill a couple miles. It's some of the steepest, hottest terrain that I've ever remembered running, and I think it's going to be a big difference maker during this course.
Let's get to it. Alrighty. It just strikes you. It is hot and it is dry. You see the dust kicking up. It's upper 90s we're going to see today at altitude, which amplifies everything we've already talked about. This is going to be a long, miserable day for a lot of athletes.
It's really strange when people hear Utah. They typically think, oh, it's a ski destination, and that couldn't be farther from the truth during the summer. It's one of the hottest places I've ever been. I've gone on a canoe trip in Arches and Canyonlands National Park a few times during the summer, and that's some of the hottest weather I've ever experienced. It makes Texas seem like really nice temperatures. But if we're looking at the start line across there, what I'm really noticing, and I really like what they've done this year, is they have the men and the women starting at the same time, which in my opinion it's long overdue. What do you think, Bracken?
I love it. I love it. I think you either have to start the women first or start them together. No more of starting the women behind and letting them catch all the straggler men and then deal with that on course. This is a definite move forward by Spartan. And what I'm seeing here looking is a man we didn't even know if he would be here. Hot called, just won, what was it, a Cirque Series race yesterday? Spent
Sky Goat, or Speed Goat.
Speed Goat, and he spent a couple hours running around a mountain yesterday, and he's back at it for today, and they're off.
How many people you think, never mind winning that race, but how many people do you think would have made it to the start line today? He did a 28K, which is about 19 miles, almost 6,000 feet of elevation gain yesterday. So under 24 hours, he's got to turn it around and try to see if he can repeat what he did in Big Bear, where he took home the win.
And he won the race outright yesterday. This is a legit running race, and he just outran runners. Now he's back in his family surname, the sweet spot of OCR. And you asked how many people would have turned around. My answer is the same amount of people who were excited to see him line up next to them today. I think most people assume they'd be hot call free this weekend, and he's about to mess up a lot of people's days.
Exactly. And sometimes you'll ask the athletes ahead of the race, are you going to be here? And they'll sometimes say, oh, I'm not sure. I think this is one of the times where I truly believe he wasn't sure if he was going to show up on the start line, but look at him right here. You can just tell with that stride, he's already going right to the front a minute into this race, and everyone's stringing out right behind him.
Chris Brown, who is also in this race, said that in the last race out in Big Bear, he'd never seen someone in the sport of OCR run up steep hills with the speed that Hawk Call did. We're going to get to see it today. Now, he might be a little diminished because of racing yesterday, but already, when you see chairlifts, you know you're going to get legit terrain. And he's running by the chairlifts, already 50 meters clear of the field, him with one other. Not
Balin
showing
Bean is
any signs of
right on him.
Balin Bean's with him. They're clear of the field. And he's not showing any signs of maybe easing into it after a hard day of racing.
Maybe getting over that wall a little bit right there,
Yeah.
actually.
Yeah, hopping down a little
Looking a
gingerly.
little old. Balin's like, you
You
know what? You
should.
take your time getting over these walls. I'm gonna use every single second of separation that I can get.
Listen, if I had 6,000 feet of descending in my legs, I'd probably hop down gingerly as well off that first obstacle.
I wouldn't have shown up. So. Oh, this is
No, I
great.
like what
Early
Balin's
stream
doing.
crossing. Yeah.
You've
So
got
what
Hawk.
type of
Go for it.
Oh, I was going to say, what type of strategy would you have knowing, like, if you're one of the top, someone who's aiming for a top 5 and you're a really good climber, do you think that this Balin strategy of just going right to the front, pushing the pace is the way to go in this circumstance?
Yeah.
Or do you like what Chris Brown and some of the others staying back? Is that the right idea?
I mean, Chris is running a smart race. That's the way you should race at altitude. Chris is a very intelligent, seasoned racer. He's put up distances, 419 in a road mile a couple years ago, all the way up to 100-mile races and beyond. He's an absolute stud. He's going to pace this correctly. However, when you've got a wounded animal at the front of the pack, which Hawk might be, he's a little fatigued. The only way to beat someone who's significantly better than the field, which Hawk proved to be in Big Bear, is try to crack him early. Try to make him regret the fact that he's racing both days. Make him think that maybe this was a mistake. I just don't have it today. You can't let him get into his rhythm. I'm not going to say it's going to work, but I do like that Balin's just going to go for it.
Totally agree. And Balin Bean has the credentials at this point with the U.S. National Series podium in the most recent race at Big Bear, a ridiculous climbing and descending type of race. I think that he absolutely knows what he's doing, and I don't think it's a foolish decision at all to go to the front right here. And now we're seeing the top women, Lauren Weeks, who we're talking about going to the front. Has there ever been a race, hybrid, OCR, anything, where Lauren Weeks was not the first one just separating right away? And look at this. Where's the next woman in this field?
This is fascinating to me, Jack. So we had Annie Doobie win the first 2 stops and really without being challenged, and she will not be here today. Rose Wetzel was the heir apparent. She's been 4th, 3rd, and 2nd the last 3 times this has been a National Series race, and she is not here today. And so the question was going to be, who steps up in this race? Lauren's the most fit person on paper, probably in either field. She's, for my money, maybe the single fittest all-around endurance / hybrid athlete on the planet, maybe that we've ever seen. But has she ever podiumed in a national series? Has she ever put herself up into the mix in a national series and held on? We haven't seen that, but now here she is, 100 meters clear of the pack, simply 4.5 minutes into the race.
Yeah, the last time that we saw Lauren was actually this course last year. She won the Beast, and then she came second place in the Super the following day. So she has 3 hours of racing in her legs. Absolutely. She's proven it. That was not part of the National Series race. She did end up going to Palmerton. She survived rounds 1 and 2 of the 3K and then ended up finishing 7th in the finals. She was either 7th or 8th in all 3 of those rounds, and those had Lindsay and some of the usual suspects that you would expect at a National Series race in the past. But she got 7th at the Utah Beast in 2021, and she was 6th at the North American Regional Championship in 2021. So she has these mountain running credentials for 2 to 3 hours in her repertoire. So if she's already separating at this point, I think it's, I wouldn't want to be chasing her the rest of this race because she can definitely hold on.
Well, this has to be terrifying to these women. Lauren is obviously the most powerful woman in this field. She might be the most powerful athlete overall in this field. She's probably the best CrossFitter out of all the elite men and women in this field. She's the most dynamic all-around athlete, and she happens to be leading up the climb at altitude. Like, what do you do against a woman like this? You have to take it out of her on the climbs and descents. You can't let her get to the obstacles and carries. But here she is leading the race out. What do you even do if you're one of the women in this field?
Well, the thing about the women's field is you have a lot more women who have done 2 races in the series, and that's one of the components that you need. You need to do all 3 races in the series. So even if you earn points, for instance, Hawk Call, he won Big Bear, but he's not going to factor into the overall series because he didn't show up to Jacksonville. Meanwhile, in the women's field, you have athletes like Casey Monroe. She's in the blue socks on the right. You have Julie Best, Cassandra Gill. You have several athletes who have gone to all these races. So is it worth blowing up and trying to see if you can stick with with Lauren, or is the smarter idea preserve yourself and try to get the best possible finish and earn as many points as possible. So maybe you finish in the top 3 in the series overall.
Yeah, I mean, for sure, just like Chris Brown, conversation remains the same. We're racing at altitude. It's going to get hot. It's going to be a long race. We've seen that this course is notorious for carnage and cramping in the second half. The play is to build into the race. But this may be some of these women's only chance for an overall win at a National Series race. So it's just phenomenal to see the range that Lauren has. And I think some people forget that her happy place is the mountains. Yes, she's a CrossFitter. Yes, she is a High Rocks world champion multiple times. But all she wants to do is run 60 miles a week in the mountains every week. And she does. So this isn't a fool's errand by her getting out hot. She knows she's from Utah. She runs in the mountains every week. She knows this type of terrain. This is not someone getting out hotter than they should.
No, and you've had Lauren on your show several times speaking to the I just want to get out and run. And what was kind of her philosophy? She was just going out running, 60, 90 minutes a day, whatever it took. She just enjoys being outdoors. She's not just your typical gym rat that you'd think who is someone who likes doing hybrid racing. She truly loves the mountains. And there are a couple other athletes in this field like Julie Best, who's wandered into DecaFit. She's done some of those. Isaac Sanderson, who's probably the man to beat besides Dylan Scott this year for DecaFit, and he's jumped into High Rocks as well. It's and actually there's Isaac right on camera, so good timing. I knew that would happen.
Good for you, Jack. First couple men descending. Looks like he's probably sitting in about 4th right now. That would be my guess, somewhere around there. And you can see everything's overgrown. If you are not running down on an established path, Ethan Brown whips past the camera. If you're not on that dirt, you are on sketchy terrain. It's so dry that things are going to move under your feet. And if it's overgrown and you're descending, good luck finding it. Yes, some of this stuff is smooth, but it's treacherous smooth, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it's a very unique course that I think right around mile 3 or so, but a little over 5K, and that's when you're really going to start seeing some of the overgrown. You're not going to have this nice, this looks like mountain bike terrain almost, where you'd expect seeing some of those bridges. And we're about a mile in based on that marker right there. But yeah, if you've got runnable terrain, I would take advantage of it now, because there's going to be 20, 30 minutes in a row where you're just going to be suffering in some pretty overgrown areas. But the shade at this point of the day must feel nice. So I'm sure that they're embracing that.
Yeah, we didn't see a lot of men at the start line with hydration packs on. They may have had waist packs on, but this day is going to heat up.
Yeah, absolutely. And just to go back to going out really fast early on, we're used to Isaac Sanderson doing that in DECA, and he's doing the Chris Brown strategy this race where he's sticking back a little bit. I know Isaac has had a lot of success in Spartan. He's won the Beast at Utah before when it wasn't a National Series race, but I'm a little surprised he's hanging back at this point based on what we've seen for his racing strategy over the past few races.
Well, keep in mind, one of the easiest ways to appear that you're hanging back is to be in a mountain race with Hawk Call. Hawk makes it real easy not to have to worry about leading out.
Yeah, Balin Bean's making sure that doesn't happen either.
Yeah. With Balin and Hawk in the field, you kind of just get to realize that no matter what I do, I'm not going to be leading this race.
Mm-hmm. And it's pretty crazy when you look at some of the races that these athletes have done. We saw Cassandra Gill. She was in a neon shirt earlier. We got glimpses of Elmer King. The two of them, they just went over and did the Ultra Beast World Championship a couple weeks ago, and they're already coming back. So, I mean, just what some of these athletes are able to do for quick turnaround recovery, it's amazing. As we see Lauren Weeks dominating the plate drag right there, about 11 minutes into the race.
Look, Ethan Brown had just looked like he had just left the plate drag, and we assume he's top 5. And Lauren Weeks is probably only about 30 seconds behind here, if that was indeed Ethan. But take a look at that plate drag. Used to seeing San Luis Obispo, Jacksonville, where there's very well-defined surface to drag that thing on as Lauren whips around another one of the men's field. This is kind of a nasty plate drag. There's no clean path to drag that through. It's
going to be a lot better to do the plate drag tomorrow than it is today, because everyone will have stomped down the course just like this hill. A lot of times you'll see on day 2 of a race weekend, or there's a trifecta weekend or just a regular one, that the course just is a lot nicer because you've had thousands of people pack it down just running the day before. But they're the first athletes. There've been fewer than 10 who have reached this part of the course so far this year. So get ready for this high brush for a long time.
Get ready for 13 miles of me fawning over Lauren Weeks' performance here. Pick any other High Rocks, let's just say Elite 15 athlete. Can we throw them into a mountain altitude beast Spartan race and expect them to run up at the front, let alone lead out? She's just this if she holds on to this, Jack, this just cements her as one of the most special athletes we have in this entire world, not just this sport.
Yeah, you just mentioned Ethan Brown, and Ethan has a podium at the National Series race in Jacksonville to start the year. He had something like 20 or 21 elite podiums, so top 3 overall last year, and she is just like keeping up with his pace. It's ridiculous what she's able to do.
Yeah, and you can see her very comfortable on this type of terrain, alternating between power hiking with purpose, not slow slogging hiking. She is hiking with intensity, moving back and forth between that and running. If she has a weakness, Jack, it's her downhill.
That's the only thing that I can, yeah.
As you can see right there, she picked her way through it. She is self-admittedly tentative on downhills. So if the other women in this field have any chance, outside of her maybe not being as experienced as some of these women in terms of this type of stage, it's to make up all the time on the descents. She's going to have to either be head and shoulders above their climbing all day long, or she's going to have to take a few chances because there are some women in this field who will send it.
Now, if you're designing like the perfect athlete, uphill, downhill, what skill set do you think is more important over the course of a race?
This is one of those that
because almost every race starts uphill and ends downhill. You very rarely have one go downhill and then end on an uphill. So it's one of those, you want to be able to close strong, which in logically would mean having a good downhill. But if you're so far behind because you can't climb, it's like it's offsetting it. So what would you choose?
I still think I would take the uphill. I've answered this different ways in the past, but I believe the difference between a good downhill and a great downhill might be a minute or 2 per mile at the top of a field, whereas the difference between a good uphill and a great uphill might be 3 or 4 minutes per mile. But ask me again next week, I might give you a different answer.
All right, looks like Lisa Musacchio just crossed in second place right there. She has actually been making a name for herself. A lot of people weren't familiar with her before this year, but she's had, she won the Blue Mountain Beast in Canada earlier. That was part of the age group series Mont Tremblant. She ended up winning, or last year, sorry, for Blue Mountain. She ended up winning the race in the Canadian National Series, and she ended up taking 4th place at Big Bear as well in the National Series, just behind Casey and Rose. Probably 10 to 15 podiums in a row besides that Big Bear. So she is on a roll. And here's Julie Best.
She is, and this is her chance to kind of cement what she did up in Canada. So we have Lauren over a minute clear of the field, and then 2nd through 4th all within about 35-40 seconds of each other.
Now, one other pretty cool thing about Lisa, her first 3 races, her first ever race was the age group division at Palmerton. So now she's 2nd place in the elite division at a National Series race. So to anybody who's out there in the age group divisions, just keep putting in the work. You never know where you're going to be. She's in 2nd place at a National Series race 15 minutes in.
Yeah, and that's the narrative we've started seeing a little bit more in the last 2 to 3 years. Early on, you came out and ran pro and stayed pro. There really wasn't a feeder system. And now you're starting to see that start an age group, work your way to the top of age group, jump into pro, work your way up there. That's now a legitimate progression in this sport.
Yep. And it looks like we're having an update on the men's race. This last split was about 5 minutes or so ago, but Balaam Bean, he is staying aggressive, 5 seconds ahead of Hawk Call. That's race is by no means over with Vivian Tran on camera right now, but race is by no means over. But Chris Brown about 30 seconds back, and Isaac Sanderson about 30 seconds behind Chris. So strung out a little bit.
That 3-4-5 battle is every bit as interesting to me as the 1-2 battle, because Balin is still a bit of an unknown commodity. We know he's a monster. He's proved himself enough that we should just accept that he's at the top of the sport, and he is. But we haven't seen him on this mountain against these gentlemen in this type of situation. And so this is our first chance to see him on one of these courses and run with Chris and run with Hawk out at the front. That's exciting for us. But Chris has been known to start in the back and work his way up. In Tahoe, what was that? 2019. He was probably 40th place, quarter mile in, half mile in, and got to the top in something like 5th or 6th. He just has the ability to switch into a higher level of climbing than a lot of these gentlemen can. Isaac, still young in this sport. We're unsure of his race tactics in a race like this against these gentlemen. And Ethan Brown has proven that he's always a contender. So we have 3 people here who are going to run 3 different styles of races, and that's always fun to see play out.
Mm-hmm. And just to tie back in with my age group point just before this, we mentioned that Lisa ended up starting her career in the age group division. Balin Bean, who's leading his first 4 Spartan races, were all age group races. He took the win within the 18 to 24 age group in Montana, and then Utah at the Super, and then the Beast and Super in Seattle in 2022. And then 2023 rolls around and he switched to Elite, and he got 3rd place at this past in May at the Big Bear Super National Series race, and now he's leading one overall. So another really strong data point where just stick with it, and you never know where it can take you if you start in the age group.
First section of the course. Up front, Bailey and Bean with Hawk Call right behind him. Behind them, he had Ethan Brown. I think he was in 4th or 5th. And I forget who was in the mix with them. On the women's side, Lauren Weeks, big lead, way early on. And then Cassandra Greenlee was in 5th. Julie Best, Casey Monroe, and Lisa Musacchio in 2nd, Julie Best in 3rd, or Casey Monroe in 3rd, Julie Best in 4th. Back to you guys.
Jason Dupree out there, our producer, also doubling down as on-course rabbit, getting the footage. And now we have seen Hawk Call start to turn it up a little bit on this climb. And yet, Jack, still going over those walls about as gingerly as I've ever seen anyone do it. That makes me interested to see what his first big descent's going to look like. Are his quads gone, or is he saving them?
That was going to be my exact point. I was like, if he can't go down a slowly lowering himself 6-foot wall right there, what's this downhill going to do to his quads? And he's got to do it at least twice for probably 20 minutes in a row.
Yeah, and that second one is legitimately between 4 and 5 miles long with very few actual breaks. That's going to be a 30-minute descent all in. And we've got to the point on course, we've seen him on before, and he continues to flash his kind of freaky ability to run and kind of hop up terrain that other people are forced to hike. You've been on this mountain. This is every bit as steep as it looks.
How many people you think in the men's field would be running at this point? If you took the entire sport of OCR, I would say almost exclusively, besides Hawk Hall and maybe Josiah Midaw, everyone would be power hiking at this point. Hawk does not do anything except run up steep terrain, it seems.
Yeah, early John Albin would do this. And then he, over time, realized, I can develop my power hiking game, and he doesn't do that anymore. Those are the only 2 I've ever seen spring up this type of terrain. Josiah is also a good call. He loves to run up the steep stuff. You see Balin already deep into the power hiking, as every normal human on Earth
as you should
be on terrain like this. Yeah. This is up over 30%, and Hawk is just a freak.
Yeah, and it's not a smooth 30%. You saw another stream crossing or runoff, and then they're just going through these bushes. You don't know what's 2 steps ahead of you terrain-wise. I remember rabbiting sections similar to this in the 2022 race, and I stuck with Hawk for about 4 or 5 minutes at that point, and I was like, that's enough. I'm switching to second place. His climbing on terrain like this is unreal.
You know, he gets compared a lot to his dad, and How do you not? His dad's an OCR legend, arguably the greatest to ever do it. And young Hobie used to do the same thing. Hobie didn't develop power hiking in his game until he was a bit older. He ran every step of most things when he was young, but he did it in a really smooth pitter-patter manner. Hawk kind of bounds. Hawk has that freakish ability. I keep using that word, but I think it applies to him. That freakish ability to be kind of boundy up really, really steep stuff.
Bracken, were you at the 2015 Warrior Dash World Championship?
Yes.
You were at 2014, right? Or you were in the
14.
Tennessee one? Okay.
No, I didn't do Tennessee. You're right, 14.
So that race basically started with like a 3-minute climb up some really steep terrain, probably 25, 30%. And I remember looking to my left, and I'm a couple minutes in, and it's Hobie Call. And I'm like, oh, I'm going out way too fast. And he just gave me a smirk. And he's like, all these guys have no clue what they're in for. And I'm like, if he is going this slow on this opening climb and he's walking, then everyone else is in trouble. And, you know, by that point, it was a few years into his OCR career, and he finally developed some power hiking, but it was amusing to see.
Yeah, he went from a fireballer, a fastball pitcher, to more of a Maddox later in his career, where he would slow play things, he would paint the edges, he would throttle things just right. But early on, he was every bit of this Hawk style, where he would just take it by the throat and just run you into the ground. But again, he did it differently. Hobie wasn't a long strider. He was a pitter-patter runner. He was a super high cadence runner. Hawk's a long strider. He's a bounder.
Now, you saw a lot of Hobie, just to keep this comparison going. How would he have attacked a race like this? Would he have been like, go ahead, Hawk, I can't do this right now, as we see Chris Brown appearing on camera?
I've never seen a racer as comfortable with his strategy as we see Chris cutting the course as usual. No, he just, the grass is so long. Chris is a stand-up guy. But I've never seen a racer
courses.
as... Yeah, he designs courses, correct. If he can't follow it, no one can. I've never seen a racer as comfortable and confident in their game plan than Hobie Call was. Hobie would do whatever he decided to do with a smile on his face, and he probably would have looked, if he didn't know Hawk, or even if he did, he would have looked at him and said, look at that young kid. I'll let him go. I'll see him later. And he would have found a way to see him later. But that was later career Hobie. Early on, he hit the throttle hard and often.
Yeah, I asked Hawk when I was seeing if he was going to end up doing this race a couple days, and then he obviously ran the Speed Goat 28K the day before, and I was like, you need to get your dad out of retirement, because you saw the split. His dad went 15 low in a 5K recently, so it's a very fit family.
Yeah, Hawk, I believe, ran 1507 or 1509, and Hobie at 47 years old ran 1514, I believe it was. So the father time has not yet fully caught up to Hobie Call. Granted, he was a 1402 guy back in the day, but still 15 teens at 47 years old. And this is Chris Brown, who's a very good technical runner and descender. And you can just see that when you can't see the ground, it's really hard to do anything other than kind of hop through this stuff. There's no smooth running happening right now.
No, if you look at their pace per mile, you'd be like, oh, this isn't that hard. But if you were actually out here and looking at this terrain that you have to step on and meander your way through, you know how difficult this terrain is. And what great views also. I remember you kind of reach the top of this mountain, and I think this is the start of the real big descent, if I'm not mistaken at this point, or the first big descent.
First big one, yeah.
And yeah, first big one on like northwest side of it. And now you've got a little mountain road, which is a welcome relief for a little bit, but they're going to be going through that brush again pretty soon.
And Chris Brown's comfortable on this. You know, he was a California guy for a long time. Now I believe he's out in Missoula, but I mean, he's running 50 milers at subs at like 548 pace or something like that. 550.
Yeah, he's been on like the national team for 100 miler or some ultra national team, right?
Yeah, when Walmsley did his that Carbon X project where they tried to break the 50 mile and 100K record, Chris was right in there, and he was top 5 in that. There's no terrain he's not comfortable on. So I love seeing the image of having to hop and pick his way through this terrain and know that if he's not doing it, there's very few people out here that are going to be just bombing.
Yeah. But at this point in the race, it seems pretty apparent that Chris and Hawk and Balin are kind of on their own level at the moment. We would have expected Isaac, maybe if he was feeling it, to at least try to hang on with Chris, get a little bit of momentum, or at least hang with him so you're not running by yourself. But I think at this point it's looking like there's some pretty serious separation.
Yeah, and you'd expect that. Isaac is an absolute monster. He's a Lauren Weeks type athlete where he's just good at everything he does. But these top three people are great at something in particular, and it's this kind of running. You can go out hotter than you're supposed to on flat ground, and you can't at altitude up terrain like this. There's no option. The rest of these men, if you would have said beat Hawk to the top, outside of Balin or Chris, not one of them could, even if their race just ended at the top. This is the type of terrain you just can't fake it. And there was Ethan, I believe. Was that Ethan we saw? And now right on his heels,
Ethan, and
Lauren
10
Weeks.
seconds behind. Unreal. Lauren making good
spot.
use. Yeah,
there must be something
got a little off
prior.
course. Yeah.
And we're not belittling Ethan. Ethan Brown is a monster.
I have trained with him and I've seen him go through some obstacles, and we had a really close battle in Big Bear. That guy is legit, and Lauren very easily could pass him right there. It will be interesting to see, though. It will be interesting to see how Lauren emerges on this next downhill, because she's essentially, 10 seconds or so behind Ethan right there. So comparative climbers, we'll see how the two of them stack up. Ethan's a pretty competent descender, so that would say a lot about Lauren if she's able to hang with him till the bottom.
Yeah, if I remember correctly, it's about somewhere between 2K and 2 mile to the bottom. That's a long time to give time away. That being said, she's building up quite a gap, but 2 miles is a lot of time for something to go wrong. And as we can see with this terrain, it is not going to be difficult to have something go wrong physically with you. It's not going to be hard to roll your ankle. It's not going to be hard to fall. And there are sharp rocks on this course. It's not going to be difficult to start cramping later on. So 2 miles is a lot of time for things to go wrong.
I've mentioned it a couple times when I rabbited in 2022 for this race. Robert Killian was another one of the rabbits, and he rolled his ankle on this upcoming descent that a lot of these athletes are going to be on. It just took him out, and he's a 2-time Spartan race world champion. He knows how to run down crazy descents, and if it can happen to a guy like that, it can happen to anybody. So I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of people are tentative, but you're going to lose position realistically if you're super tentative. That's the tough thing. It's like, do you make your move now? Do you save it for the second downhill that might be a little bit smoother? Or do you assume I can make a little bit extra ground because more people are breaking behind me on this first one?
When we've watched it on this course affect the race, we've seen Rose limping towards the end of these races as she's fighting for a podium spot. We watched on camera Chris Rogloski roll her ankle on the final descent. These are women who are very adept in the mountains, and it just gets you. And so we've seen it affect the race before. It absolutely will in some capacity today. Unfortunately, there are going to be a lot of athletes, especially in the age group and open, who are going to injure themselves on course because you're going to turn an ankle. Like, look at this terrain. How do you not? It's not if you roll your ankle, it's how bad is it going to be. So
you're going to have a close call.
A lot of time for things to go.
All right, Bracken, people may have heard you might be a shoe guy. You're looking at all this terrain. What are you wearing? It looks pretty bone dry other than a couple of creek crossings so far. What would you choose?
Oh, I'd either be in the Salomon S-Lab Pulsar soft ground or the VJ Lightspeed. Those would be the two that I'd probably bring out here.
Now, what's the reason for that, just for listeners who might be thinking about what pair of shoes might be good for a similar type of course?
That's just me personally. They're both going to be light, low to the ground shoes with a surprising amount of cushion to them. But they're both, sub 8, sub 7 ounce shoes, drain water very well. You don't need crazy grip on a course like this. Although when you see it overgrown like this, you're also not going to want a completely smooth bottom shoe. This is the kind of course I'd love to take a Speed Goat or a Tecton X on, but it's just so rocky and unforgiving that I would want something that would be less prone to tip.
Yep. I would say something with a lower stack height is probably the way to go, where you have an ankle rolling potential.
Maybe the VJ Max 3, or is it the 2 we're on?
Yeah.
The new Max.
Yeah, you've got a shoe wall behind you. You can probably figure it out.
The new Max. I like it a lot.
Yeah. And we're just seeing, if you're in this, I guess, third pack realistically right here, a lot of athletes are just sticking together. You think it's kind of strategy there. They're like, I just don't want to get separated. I'm just going to go the pace of the person ahead of me. Or is it just the conditions are that nasty and they're just dealing with it?
I think at this point, you're almost 2 miles into the climb. You're climbing at the pace that you're climbing at. I think that some of the people have some decisions, and the vast majority have already given away their decisions. They're just working at the best work rate that they can do without tipping too early. Body language is good on a few people, not good on a lot of people. Everyone's wearing it now.
And we just saw Casey come down in 2. Looks like Jason's got an update.
Well, this will be fun to watch Jason go with Hawk, because this is a technical descent.
Over under 2 minutes, he stays with them.
Now, this isn't Hawk at full flight. We'll see Hawk descend harder. It won't be the day after a race that had 6,000 feet of descending. This is our first chance to really watch what his legs are like today. He obviously is not running slowly. No,
this looks like a very flowy type of switchback layout. Very dry, not too many rocks or roots or anything. I think he can, if he wanted to really open it up and had, less fatigue in his legs from the day before, I think he could really rip on this section.
Now, you talk shoes, so you've opened the can of worms. Hawk, I've been watching Hawk race this year. I've been watching his races, looking at his posts, and there we see him get out of sight. Oh, Jason,
45 seconds.
Switch back.
Oh,
I like
smart. It. There we go. Intelligent.
It's a KG veteran move. Anyway, Hawk's been running in either the Salomon S-Lab Pulsar. That's a shoe on the wall behind me here. He's been in the Merrill, what is it? I'm going to blank on this, Skyfire
not
or something.
Yeah.
It's a stripped down, semi-carbon plated. And I believe he might have been in we'll just leave it at that. Anyway, he's been in 2 very, very light shoes that are extremely fast. And he's in something a little beefier today. And even yesterday, he didn't race in this shoe. So he's in something to give him a little bit more cushioning on day 2, just like
body's how he's feeling it.
Yeah, he's dainty getting off the wall. He's wearing his cushioned shoe. He's not firing his descents like usual, but even Hawk at 80 or 90%, as you can still see, is a special athlete out on course.
Yeah, okay, so I think that was Chris. I just saw a white shirt, and I remember him wearing that.
No, Chris didn't have that yellow belt on the outside. I'm not sure who that was.
You're right. Yeah. All right, there's Balin with the dark shirt. He's coming around. At this point, he's probably 45 seconds or so behind Hawk.
He's got his shirt zipped all the way down now. You can see the heat starting to rise.
Now, wearing black, like I know a lot of athletes, they'll go shirtless. I'm not a huge fan of that. You typically don't end up going shirtless, it seems. I choose light colors whenever possible on a very exposed hot course like this. Looks like Balin, he's going to be feeling the temperature a little bit hotter because of the black.
I don't subscribe to that much. I figure if the Bedouin tribe can wear all black, I can race on the side of a mountain in black. I think that especially now he's got a compressed sport top on it, look like. I don't know if they use that cooling black technology or not, but they have pretty high tech yarns and fibers they're using. And he looks great downhill. I haven't been able to see Balin run downhill. I think the closest I got to that was watching him in the 3K, but he looks really good downhill.
Are you seeing this inset view right here? We have Casey in second place and Lisa in third, maybe 5 seconds apart. That's definitely less than 50 meters right there. They are on each other.
This is what I love about, this is going to sound funny, when the top dogs don't show up. Obviously, we want the best in the world at every single race, but there's no way logistically you can get that. I love when it happens like this because now you get to see people on course that you don't generally get to see. I've never seen these women rip downhill. Haven't seen Lisa rip downhill. This is fun for me. I like seeing this. 2, we haven't seen them in battles like this. We may catch glimpses from time to time, but running for second and third together, we get to see what they're made of, how they tick, how they're going to approach this. This is the fun side of the sport. And there's Chris Brown.
Yeah, yep. I would say Lisa, coming from the East Coast, she doesn't have these big mountains to just bomb down for 15, 20 minutes in a row. She's used to a little bit more humidity. You don't get the altitude out there, but she's holding her own right now.
Yeah, and the East Coast does what they don't have in height, they make up for with technicality. So she's not going to encounter anything on here that's any more technical than some of the mountains that she's going to have over there. But as we saw for a bit on camera there, Chris Brown can rip on these trails.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, if we're looking at some of Casey's credentials, she finished the 2022 Abu Dhabi World Championship 7th place. So she's 2nd place right now in this national series race. So if you're Lisa, Casey's probably the most experienced woman in this field in terms of national series races, regional championship, world champ, just at being at big races. She's not phased by anybody who shows up. You know, you're always going to get about a 5th through 10th showing from her most of the time. She has a couple podiums earlier this year as well. I think that's fantastic running so far by Lisa.
Yeah, it is. And in fact, I'm going to need a Jack Bauer fact check on this, but I believe Casey was 6th here the last 2 years, or the last 2 times there was a national series race here. 22 and 23, maybe.
Oh, for at Utah?
Yeah.
Yes, they are, Jason. Yeah, so in 2022, Casey was 6th place, and 2021, she was in 6th place. So very, very consistent. 17th in 2018 and 14th in 2019. So improved basically every year.
Yeah, so 2 top 6 performances. Both of those were stacked fields. Now she's looking around. Obviously, Lauren's throwing a wrench in a lot of people's plans, but looking around saying, I think I might be the top returner here. And she's running like it.
Yeah, and I think she realistically made the right call not going with Lauren, especially with probably Isaac, I imagine.
Yeah, I think Isaac still will have that. We saw Ethan with Lauren, and I mean, if Lauren's caught Isaac by now as well, just I don't know. I'm going to run out of superlatives for her, but yeah. I think Isaac is adding to his resume as one of the better, well-rounded athletes in our sport.
Yeah, I mean, his range, he finished like 7th or so at Deca Strong World Championships. I think he was around high 11s, and he ran 90 miles of world's toughest motor. So that man, right on camera, Isaac Sanderson, has some of the best range in the hybrid and OCR space.
Yeah, we have several athletes in this field who have completed 24-hour or 100-mile races or ultras of some capacity in the relatively recent past, which is something that is happening more and more in this current landscape of the sport, as there's maybe less of an emphasis on big, long series, and now there's shorter series and some more emphasis on the 6-hour, 24-hour race type. We're starting to see people branch out and run into that problem of, all right, I just ran 100. 3 weeks later, I have something, or I just ran a 50K. 2 weeks later, I have something. That's a tough style of racing.
All right, let's see Hawk. Okay, this won't be a bad dismount, I imagine. Let's see if he's still a little cautious.
Go, man, go.
Tyrolean Traverse, one of the few obstacles anymore that really has a grip fatiguing component, so he got through that with no problem. Man, it looks so hot and dry.
Mm-hmm. Is that Ethan on camera to the right?
To the right, yes. Ethan Brown.
And you can see, even in his slightly diminished capacity, Huck's call is still a pretty long strider. Now he starts to chop it down a little bit.
Yeah, what would you say this is? 10% grade, roughly? 15?
Oh, no. If he's chopping like that, he's 20.
It's got to be higher, yeah. It's so deceiving whenever you're on being in person versus looking at the camera. It never looks as steep as it is.
And so what do we top out at altitude-wise? I don't know if Jason back in the truck can do this for us or not. Jack, do you remember the top of this mountain? What do we hit here?
I want to say it's somewhere in like the 7,000 range, but that's just off of memory from previous years. I'd have to pull up the course map.
So let's say we're a mile and a half up above sea level right now. And Hawk's sitting here running mid to low fives on the flats when he wants to on tired legs. He can just clip into that 530, 540 pace up at high altitude. He's just a special athlete.
Actually, it reaches almost 8,500 feet on the top of that second climb.
Okay, so he's probably around 7,500 right now.
You're doing it.
Using stride like that, he's just dialed.
Genuine question: has Hawk ever seen ape hanger before? When was the last time we saw it?
He's checking his hands.
Yeah.
Ape hanger is one of those that if you're going to rip on a Spartan course, you're going to rip on ape hanger.
Yep. Or twister, I would say. Those are the two that I've seen the most.
Yeah, and we usually don't see ape hanger at all. You know, that's kind of a reserve for Palmerton and Tahoe. We've started to see them travel with it a little bit more, but when we do see it, it's generally not this early in the race. Palmerton, it's always at the end. Tahoe, you're usually, well, maybe about this time, 40 minutes into the race, but this is early enough.
Top of the first time, usually.
You haven't hit any of the grip yet. You don't want to rip your hands now.
No. Especially with how courses tend to be designed where you have a nice gauntlet towards the end. It's like your hands are cut open. That's a bad recipe at the end of the race.
Right. Chris Brown moving through. Is he up to second now, or is Balin about to run past our screen?
I think Balin is on. Yep, Balin is on ape hanger right now.
Chris not too far behind. He's within 20 seconds, it appears.
Yeah, got that little downhill in front of the building. But Balin might be off this by the time Chris gets on it. A lot of swing and sag to it this time. I like this. Yeah.
Turn it around backwards is looks to be hung up a bit.
Flailing everywhere. This is a struggle. And he's a good rock climber as well. You can tell by like just trusting his grip with one arm right there. He's got plenty of grip strength, and I think it was just that interesting section that. Yeah.
When you see someone get turned around and stall out, you rarely see them get back on track and then just arm over arm ape swing all the way through. So I wonder what happened on that transition from the peak there. Or the valley, I guess that would have been.
It does get, there's some serious sag, and it does, you have a real pretty high reach up towards the middle of it, and maybe he wasn't expecting it not to sag a little bit at that point. All right, back to Lauren. Now we have the women's leader.
Yeah, I'm glad to get a little footage of Lauren running downhill. Now, this is slightly downhill, but I'm not seeing a whole lot of tentativeness in her stride.
Using the arms for balance.
But she's running with good pace.
No, she's running like the rocks aren't there, the few that are in the way. She knows this type of terrain, it looks like.
Yeah, I assume she spends a lot of time on these. I'm excited to see her on some of the ski slope. But again, does this look like a CrossFitter to you? Does this look like a High Rocks world champion? This looks like a trail runner.
In a couple weeks, we're having the CrossFit Games, and what are they having? A 1 mile race? And I think it's on the track, so 4 miles in right there. None of those athletes in the CrossFit Games would be running like this. No disrespect. No. Granted, she wouldn't be lifting as heavy, but should be able to hang with them on a lot of Metcons. But Lauren just gapping the cameraman. Look at this.
Yeah, she'd be closer to their lifts than they would be to her mountain running.
Exactly, yeah. I mean, if pure OCR athletes are several minutes behind, presumably at this point, then...
Sorry, Jason.
Jason's dying.
Go ahead.
Understandably. Dustin's got the tattoos. That's how you know. Yeah, Jason, who's helping produce the show and also do a lot of the rabbit work, his break of running from with Hawk Call is to now you have to go and hang out with Lauren. It's not as easy as it seems. It's not really much
Well,
of a
look at
break.
Dustin Needham here. Dustin's running great down this. Good stride, running with pace, picking his way through. This shows how fast the top of the field is going because that's an impressive looking stride right there. That's good pace.
That's what I'm sensing as well. And just to give more perspective, like Dustin Needham has 13 elite Spartan podiums, and he's well behind Lauren Weeks 47 minutes into a race. Just goes to show you the performance that Lauren's putting out today, as if we haven't said it enough. Yeah, the shaded section must be nice. I bet it, even though it's just under an hour, it's probably close to 10 degrees hotter than it was at the start line.
Yeah, and so much of their climbing that they're doing out here is in direct sunlight. The sun comes up on your back.
Exposed. Yep. All right. I would love seeing Ape Hanger at pretty much every race. I think it's a fantastic one of the few challenging ones. It reminds me of Sawtooth and Savage Race, and just you need that middle the upper body strength there in the middle of it. And some people you can fly through it, others you'll complete it, but you might lose 20 seconds right there, and it's a big difference maker.
Yeah, we saw
that looks like
Balin,
Isaac.
We saw Chris go hand over hand, and Isaac powering through there, staying at 90 degrees, bent arms, and just moving right along.
Okay, Ethan Brown, one of the best pure obstaclers. Let's see him get through this. He's going to be competing in the 100-meter race. I know
that you really can't be dynamic through the first half of this, and climbing up, going up towards the peak, you're never going to be able to. So,
yeah, Ethan
second
Brown,
half of his monkey bars.
He's going to be racing that 100-meter short course in Costa Rica, so he can fly through some obstacles. And even he wasn't able to get, a great momentum or shave seconds like we would have expected. It's a pretty tricky obstacle.
You just spent some time training with him. How did that go?
Ethan's real good. I really like the guy, and he knows how to shave seconds like VJ shave seconds on obstacles. That's the thing that I would take away from it. If there was a pure obstacle competition, he's one of the best in the sports. And I think Ethan had something like 21 podiums last year, which was the all-time record for North America. And you see him sitting in 5th place at a national series race right there. Hawk's on another level clearly, but Ethan's holding his own. And I think if he finishes like top 7 or 8 in this race, he's going to end up winning the series points title.
Yeah, he will.
If we're looking at the inset, does that looks like? Yeah, I think that's Lisa. Bottom right of the screen.
Yeah, and look at her. She's opening up a little bit too. She's just a shorter athlete with a shorter stride, but compared to the last downhill we saw, she's opening up a little bit here, leading the pace group down the mountain.
Yeah, and she's definitely holding her own. She's not just hanging on to the guys. She's leading them. And let's see her climbing. This is very steep, and still sticking with the running instead of power hiking right there. Yeah, because you can see both of the guys, they reverted to power hiking right there, and she's just shuffling along, real efficient stride. Looks like she might have
see the
started
gap
hiking at
here.
this point.
This goes back to my answer on downhill versus uphill. Cruising around downhill, uphill starts, and immediately they put 20 meters on this guy in red. That's just that's just life. You can't use power you don't have when you're going uphill. Uphill is very, very demanding. Downhill has a very big skill component to it. You can learn to be good at downhills. You can try your whole life and never get good at uphills if that's just not in your power and lung capacity.
Yeah, that's kind of what Sean Roberts, who's probably the fastest pure runner in OCR history, arguably. And he just did Big Bear, and he's like, I've been trying to get good at uphill for the past year, and Big Bear just killed him. And he's such a good downhill runner. But even someone with a sub 148 800 PR was just still can't figure out how to run uphill after years of trying.
Yeah, 4-minute miler, 147 800. That's real speed. And that requires power to do that speed too, but uphill is just a different animal. And he's not a bad climber, for sure. He's an above average climber. But there are the hawk calls of the world that make above average climbing look slow.
All right. Can we bring up the course map? I'm just curious when the heavy carries might be happening, because we're a little under an hour into the race and haven't seen that happen yet.
So we saw ape hanger, and then we saw a 7-foot wall. So where does that put us? I think we're on course.
I saw Lauren pass the 4-mile marker, so we're a little bit past that. So yeah, 7-8. It looks like right around 5 miles in at this point. So we are 16 will be the first time that we have a carry, and then a bucket carry not too long after that. So 16 and 18, that might be able to cause a little bit of separation.
So we're a little over 35, somewhere between 35, 40% of the race, already over that 50-minute mark. This is not going to be a fast beast. In the Spartan world, 2 hours is kind of the line for a fast beast. 3 hours is kind of the line for a slow beast. Anything under that is super fast. Anything over that top line is a very long course.
Now, what do you think of Casey wearing the high socks, given that there's so much brush and everything? I think that's actually a good idea, because I've had some times when I've run courses and I'm like, it's way too hot for pants, but I keep getting scratched up and dirt keeps getting in your socks and stuff. I think it's not a bad idea.
No, not at all. Some people believe in it for cramp prevention. Also, this is just this part of Utah has harsh plants. They're all scratchy. They all want to hurt you. So yeah, I'm on board with that. And really, I don't, again, like, just like I don't get too hung up on black clothing versus white in heat, I don't get too hung up on having clothing in the heat. Yes, it's hotter, but as soon as you wet it down, it's got a cooling effect. A bunch of the athletes I work with who came out here wore shirts, and we talked about soaking them in cold water before the race, and then get them wet, keep them wet. Every water station, water over there. You feel better with your shirt off, and you overheat quicker. So keeping those legs cool. Chris Brown running with the top on. I'm a fan of that.
Yeah, if you've watched any of the Tour de France coverage this year or last year, one of the big things that they've been talking about is keeping your core body temperature down and how much an effect overheating does. And we've seen it actually carry over into OCR a little bit. Ryan Atkins in Abu Dhabi, he had like that ice pack or some cool pack that he inserted into a little section of his shirt to keep him cooler. So it's a big deal staying cool right from the start as long as possible.
Yeah, at the highest level of sport, Olympic and World Championship level, they're putting as much time in tracking core body temperature as they are heart rate or blood lactate levels. They're realizing that core temperature is one of the great limiters and indicators of exertion that there is, especially in the heat. And we've had some hot Olympics lately, and that's helped kind of drive forward some of that technology that we're seeing in play now. So again, wearing a shirt out on course here, especially on a course that isn't going to have swims where that type of thing would really weigh you down, I think it's actually a tactical advantage. Not that Hawk calls at a disadvantage. Again, he lives in Utah. He knows what he's doing. But for people who are not used to the heat, I'd have a top on.
Now, is this Lauren, just judging by stride? Yep, that looked like Lauren.
That right there,
yeah,
how she switches, sorry to cut you off, Jack, how she switched from running to immediately a purposeful power hike tells me everything I need to know about her as a mountain athlete. It's so easy to stop running and kind of sluggishly hike, but she is moving with purpose. It sounds funny to say high turnover walking, but she has high turnover walking. This is someone who knows what she's doing out on a mountain.
And she's just talking to the camera right now. Let's see if we can hear her.
You're smoking it.
Yep.
Look at her cadence
Yeah,
on her
you're
power
right.
hiking.
Yeah, there was no like shifting into neutral and just kind of like, oh, I'm slowing down a little bit. Now it's time to hike again. She just immediately transitioned right into a purposeful walk.
And that tired, slow hike, that's tenths per step. By the top of a mountain, that's a minute.
And you do a 20-minute climb, big deal. So I'm not
Yeah.
sure. We saw Lisa earlier with a couple of the guys, one of the guys in red shirt. I don't know if so. I think Casey's currently in third because that's Julie Best right behind her, and I don't believe Julie was within the podium at that moment. So Julie looking like she's in fourth place. Another Utah athlete.
Also a fan of the
Julie.
hat.
Yeah. Not enough athletes wear sunglasses or hat. Just this is bright out there.
That's another thing. You can keep a hat wet all day long out on course.
Mm-hmm. Now, last race in Big Bear for the National Series, Julie ended up getting 5th place, and she also took 3rd. She podiumed at the first ever 3K National Series race last year. So she is no stranger to being up in that top 4, top 5 mix.
She looked good there. She came off of there right back to running, looked like she was running downhill with purpose. She looks good right now.
Now look at the technique difference right here. We saw Julie just flying through it. We saw Hawk flying through it. When you're doing the static, like pull with your arms, now shimmy up instead of just leg over leg, you're using a lot of forearm and biceps just hanging on right there. And probably ripping up your calves.
Burning away your skin. Yeah, I understand because that is hamstring cramp city. If your legs are on the verge of cramping, using your legs on that, cycling your legs cramps your hamstrings. But it takes so much of the strain off your arms if you're able to do it. And so it leaves so much more skin on your legs.
Now, Bracken, rumor has it Tyrolean Traverse wasn't too nice to you. They're in the first ever Spartan Race World Championship back in 2011. Do you want to be like a little race historian on how things have changed since then on the Traverse?
Everyone got better. That was a really demanding obstacle back in the day. We didn't know how to do obstacles. Yeah. I failed that 3 times and was booted out of the race 50 meters before the finish line at the 2010 World Championships. I'd never seen anything like that in my life. Now, granted, it was like 40 degrees and raining, and we had just done a swim, and my hands were numb. I had never done grip in my life. Like, I have a lot of excuses, Jack, and I'll keep them coming. But the sport doesn't even consider that a failable obstacle anymore. It's just a different place these days. It's a different scene. It's a different sport. And across the board, the skill level of the athletes is just significantly higher.
Yeah, 100% agree. It's just the transition of what used to be difficult to what is now just easier for everybody. It's amazing how much the sport has changed in 10, 15 years.
Now it's a task. It was a challenge back then.
Yeah, I thought I saw Mike Higuera on camera, and he at one point there, he's 52 years old and he's doing elite, and he's still crushing it.
That's awesome.
Where's the women?
So we don't know the venues that are going to be happening next year, but we heard some interviews with, I think it was Giles at the Morzine Ultra Beast World Championship, talking about some changes that are going to be happening in 2025. Currently in 2024, every single region has either 2 or 3 races for their national series, and every country, I take that back, not just region. And right now, for 2024, you have to have run in every single one of those races instead of best 3 or 4 out of 5 like it had been in the past. What type of changes would you like to see next year?
Oh, I would like to see a longer series with the ability to drop one. I think that we've seen that with just the 3 race series, with it being mandatory all 3, if you can't make all 3, then some people are hesitant to come to any of them. So I'd like to see a 4 or 5 race series, and I'd like to see the ability to drop one and just try to raise participation across the board. But I like what they're doing with one of each distance. I would like to see some prize money show up and go home with the athletes. I think that'd be an important step towards making sure that the numbers rise. But I think that Giles is taking this sports side in the right direction. I think that he seems to have the best interests of the sport and the athletes in mind. And a lot of the changes he's been talking about on paper are positive.
Yeah, I think the dropping gives athletes flexibility. It can be a long season. So far this year, basically February to July, and that's not too long realistically compared to the past, but it'd be nice to have the option to drop. And now we're switching to Lisa, who I believe is in second place at the moment. We haven't seen Casey go by.
I'm getting a little bit of Rhea flashbacks watching Lisa race. Compact athletic frame, shorter strider, running whenever humanly possible up this mountain. Yeah, we saw her hike before, but it was with cadence. But just little bits of, we've seen Rhea many times out on mountains like this, and I'm just getting a little bit of a Rhea vibe from how she's racing, which is a very good compliment.
Not a bad comparison if you could
compare. All-timer.
Yeah. And we talked about how Hawk and early John Albin used to be just the run all the time. I'd add Rhea to that mix.
Yes. Yeah, she did not want to walk a single step. Look at Hawk here.
Looks like we've got just muscling through some of this terrain.
This is such a demanding style of terrain. You don't get to the end of this kind of race feeling good or with any amount of energy. It just, all those little off camber steps really sap your legs.
All right, let's see this dismount. Oh, he's like, yeah, I'll jump from one foot down. But let's be real, he's leading a national series race an hour in, a day after an unbelievable effort, so shouldn't be making fun.
Well, it's a great skill set to have when you can say, I'm going to throttle down my dismounts, I'm going to throttle down my descents, and I'm just going to win on the climbs and the flats today. To have that at your disposal just kind of shows how good Hawk has become. We knew Hawk could be great. When he first came into the sport, he had some weaknesses, he had some hiccups, and he had some flashes of absolute greatness. And I didn't know if we'd see him come out and commit to the sport fully long term. And we're seeing, I don't know if this is a fully realized Hawk call yet, because he's still young and still has room to improve. But we see a Hawk with, from what we can tell, not a whole lot of weaknesses left in his game.
All he's
Checking
ever
the hands
seen
again, though.
Yeah. All he's ever seen in OCR is success with his dad or himself. So I think he's going to stay at the top as long as he wants to.
And he's proven that there hasn't in the history of OCR been many better matches for athlete and terrain than him on this venue. He has come out to this course and just been able to use his full arsenal. It's just a skill set that suits this course very well.
Now Casey's switching back and forth between power hiking and running. She's doing 5-10 seconds of each. As someone who kind of balances between the two of those, like, is there a certain grade that you would say you switch, or it's more advantageous to do one versus the other?
I think it's a feeling. I think that for someone like her, I would say I'm like her, where I switch as much as I can. I came into the sport as off college track and never wanted to walk a step in my life and had to learn how to do this, but really quickly found I'm an interval style climber. I got to go back and forth as much as possible, but there's just a feeling. You start to feel the pressure and the burn build a little bit, or the strain build in one part of your leg, and you just switch to the other. But she was very much a bent over, kind of a Ryan Atkins style, getting very much close to parallel to the ground, where we see Lauren Weeks, very much a vertical hiker. And then on camera here is that Julie Best, kind of splitting the difference between the two.
Yeah. I think that, I know Kirk DeWint, he's mentioned sometimes the second that you start power hiking, it's like you're just not going to want to run again. So, try to run as long as possible. And I don't necessarily agree with that. You see John Albin and some of the best trail runners in the world, they'll intermittently go 5-10 seconds of each and switch between the two, or they'll have a game plan on when they're going to switch between a shuffle and power hiking. So clearly Casey has a game plan there.
Yeah, it's certainly personality based. And I felt that too coming into the sport. The second I walked, I felt like I'd given up racing. And obviously part of that's time on feet spent
How wrong was that?
learning to hike, and part of it's gamifying it, making it an interval session, almost like a fartlek maybe. But Chris is moving with pace here.
We saw Balin just cutting through the brush. I would say he looked to be about 15, maybe 20 seconds behind at the moment, but it looks like Chris Brown is in second place currently.
Oh, we talked
Moving
turnover.
well.
Chris is one of those high turnover runners. Uphill, downhill, flats, it's all turning over for him.
It's so I'm getting like flashbacks of Woods, like Ryan Woods. Just very similar running style, it seems.
Like visually, no, but like they somehow have some of the same characteristics when they run.
Yeah, like profile. Yeah.
Feet,
Woods had a different
heels
stride,
aren't
for
coming
sure.
big off the ground, arms in front, but pleasing to watch.
Oh,
Yeah,
look at
Balin
Balin
has
just
closed the
going at
gap
it.
a little.
I bet he'll swing here. Oh,
And yes, the pass has been made by Chris, but Balin's not letting it detach right now.
no, Balin getting third place. Realistically, Chris Brown crossed the line in second. He had a little bit of a spear throw issue in Big Bear, but Balin officially finished third place at Big Bear at the last National Series race. He belonged up here, and prove it. You can't fake your way 68 minutes into a race with one of the best climbers in the sport hanging on for that last podium spot.
No, and certainly not.
And Balin did not look.
We have the splits at Ape Hanger. Lauren Weeks with a 5-minute gap on second place. Lisa in turn with 2.5 minutes on Casey, who's 50 seconds ahead of Julie. And then it really stretches out almost 4 minutes back to fifth place with Cassandra Gill.
I didn't realize the gap between Lisa and Casey for 2-3 was that big, but Julie's doing her best to hang on to third place or fourth place with third in her sights.
Yeah, the most
Lauren
desperate spot to be in is fourth place.
Yeah. What Lauren's doing is so impressive, though. It's just, and that last update was over 15 minutes ago. So if she had a 5:14 gap, then what's it going to be next time that she crosses the timing pad?
Yeah, it's only been uphill since then, which is only seeming to play into what she's bringing to the table here. Jack, if you will, take a second and talk about that actual spear throw debacle and what happened with Chris Brown with the results, because the results did not tell the full story of that race in Big Bear.
That's correct. So Chris ended up reaching the festival area in second place. There were 3-4 obstacles left during the obstacle gauntlet, and he picked up a spear, he threw it, it stuck, and then he turned his head and it fell out, and basically he didn't see it hit the ground, and he didn't go back to do the penalty loop for not completing it properly, and as a result they gave him a 10-minute penalty added to his final time, and that moved him down the leader or back at the leaderboard. I think he may have finished 6th overall as a result of that. He realistically, running a normal penalty loop, he probably would have still finished second place because he had a decent enough lead at that point over Emmanuel Defoe. But penalty is a penalty, and that's what ended up happening.
So we see what an injury looks like there on the descent. That woman on screen was unable to plant with her right leg anymore. I don't know if that was pre-existing or if that's something she developed out on course, but the immediate difference in pace when you can run downhill versus when you have to hobble. You talked before, what's better, up or downhill? Well, as soon as you get injured, uphill's certainly better than downhill.
Way
now,
better.
Instead of a few minutes, it could be 6 minutes per mile difference.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm already changing my answer, Jack.
Okay. Well, you'll probably do it 2 more times before the end of this episode.
I'm a flip-flopper.
Yeah. And you're seeing a lot of the next pack athletes, they've got hydration packs. Like, they know they're going to be on this course a lot longer. This could take, what do you think, hot call? Maybe like 2:20 plus or minus a few minutes that you could expect that. I think he won the race around 2:10 a couple years ago. So that he will surely be on this course for well under an hour less than some of these other athletes who are behind him.
Yeah, you're generally have a 30 on a course like this, 20 to 30 minute gap from the winner of the pro race to the winner of the age group race. So that puts projecting, you need to run around 3, probably like 250 or so, maybe 2.5 to win the age group race, which you're going to add another hour to win or to be competitive and open. You're suddenly looking at a 3:45, 4-hour experience on course if you're working hard, turning quickly into 5 or 6 hours if you're doing a lot of walking and stopping. That's a big day out in the sun at altitude with the type of heat and just sun exposure that they're going to hit on this course.
Yeah, just because you see someone like Hawk Hall without, he might have had nutrition in his belt, but without a hydration pack or anything, it doesn't mean you should do the same thing, because you're not running as fast as him. You're going to be out there a lot longer, and it's only going to get hotter as the day goes on.
So let's say you're targeting 2:45, Jack, yourself on this course. I don't know if that's what you'd be doing or not, but let's just put that number out there. In these conditions, that 2.5 to 3 hour time zone, what are you bringing out on course?
I like very quick fuel and liquid calories. I don't like Cliff Block or anything that takes a little bit more effort to digest. I'm typically using baby food or liquid calories when I'm out there, but I probably wouldn't bring a hydration pack. I would rely on the water out on course, especially starting earlier in the day. You know that it's not going to have disappeared. It should be fully stocked by then. But if I'm later in the day, I would definitely bring something. But I think you'll have slightly cooler temperatures than later on. And unless the race is like 4 to 5 hours, I personally wouldn't bring hydration on the course, because I'd rely on what's out there.
So you got fuel in your belt and then rely on water stations for drinking?
Exactly. Yep. Definitely a belt. Some people wear a vest. I got looking at the camera, like what that guy's got. I think that would be a little too hot and restrictive personally for a race like this. I'd rather have a waist pack. But I'm not the gear guy. What would you recommend?
I'd be in a waist pack as well. I'd probably have a frozen bottle on my belt and just let it thaw and drink over time, with maybe a backup with just powder in it that I could refill at a station. But we've also seen Lindsay come out in almost every B she runs. She's got a full vest on,
belt,
and
yeah.
She's never really had any struggle with that. So different strokes for different folks. You got to bring out what's going to allow you to perform the entire time. And some people can exist water station to water station, and others are big sweaters and have to take down a volume of liquid. So worst case scenario is that you come up short. Always better to have a little more and get through the day than come up short and cramp. Like, it doesn't matter how light and fast you feel for the first 2 hours if you can't walk for the last hour.
Yeah. So we just saw Hawk get over the box, which is actually one of the couple obstacles that does give people some trouble occasionally, especially when it's wetter. There's some dew on it. This is bone dry today. That didn't seem like an issue at all. But Hawk, he has over the past couple of years, the past time, or the first time that we saw Hawk really assert himself at Utah a couple of years ago, I think it was 2021, he really struggled with obstacles, specifically like the strength stuff. He looks like he's really put in work to be better or more proficient on obstacles.
We just saw Isaac fall off the very first transition of Twister.
That's surprising, because I watched him do Bender a couple minutes ago on camera, and he basically jumped up to the third one and almost did like just a straight pull-up instead of using his legs. I wonder if he doesn't seem like the type of athlete who would get a pump and not be able to do that. That must have just been technique-wise right there.
Yeah, I mean, it could have been as simple as he chose the same route that Balin or Hawk did, and they just left sweat, or maybe Hawk left blood.
Yeah.
It could be as simple as he got unlucky with that, but falling off that early, that is not what I expected to see there. And that on a day like this, you just don't want to be spending extra time running penalty loops.
Not at all.
I mean, that's self-evident, right? You'd never want to. We almost had a fall there, but when you're in a battle trying to hold on to third place there, or fourth in this case, you can't afford that. You've got Ethan Brown stalking you.
Yeah, you're hoping for a blow up ahead of you, but there's no guarantee for that.
Yeah.
but you're not going to catch people by doing penalty loops at the end of the day. Is that Heather?
No.
May have been. Oh no. Yeah. So we've seen Hawk Call and just looking as smooth as ever on a lot of these open running sections. This looks like Ethan Brown. Look at how quickly he's getting over this.
I believe that was Darla O'Connor we just saw on camera there.
Oh, it's Darla. Okay.
Darla is an absolute age group monster, wins everything in sight. Kirk DeWint coaches her. She's local to Minnesota. Saw her out on the trails the last time Kirk and I were out there doing a long trail run together. We come around the corner past the parking lot and she's doing burpee broad jumps in the middle of her Hobie Temple workout, just getting it all by herself in the sun, just a workhorse. So if that was indeed Darla, we're a big fan. Keep crushing it out there.
She's been on the podcast before, right? Yeah, so Gary Belanger's got the tough task of keeping up with Chris Brown.
Nice job.
Yeah, Chris is just grinding.
Yeah, and he's a guy that you see his head down. Don't mistake that for being in a bad spot mentally. This is his body language. He's a head down runner. He's a little bit of a rounded shoulder runner. This is not him in a bad place. This is him in his spot where he's just going to grind on the mountains. He lives at altitude, not crazy high in Missoula, but high enough. So he's
Yep.
That's just the way Chris looks, and he's going to keep that high turnover going. But Lauren still running with cadence and pace
She looks
here.
so smooth. We just saw Isaac and Ethan Brown maybe 2 minutes ago get on Bender, and we saw I think Lauren was maybe 10 seconds behind Ethan, 15 seconds at the top of the climb. So in that descent, she definitely lost a little bit of ground relative to Ethan. I remember I wanted to kind of compare how she stacked up with a pretty solid descender.
And I would say pound for pound, man versus women, the women in our sport climb comparatively well to the men, maybe even better in some regards. And the men out descend a lot of the women. There just seem to be a little bit more risk averse, not across the board, but if you had to just generalize in our sport, the women are steady descenders and a lot of the men at the top are kind of bombers down the mountain.
Okay, so we just saw Lauren stick her hands in the grass. Presumably she's got grip obstacle. I think twisters coming up. A lot of athletes will do that when they know their hands just got wet. She may have taken a drink or just the sweat, just anything to get rid of the moisture right before an obstacle like this and hopefully prevent ripping.
I've never watched Lauren do twister.
Till now.
But she's moving with good pace through here.
Do you like the backwards way?
Uphill, I do. Yeah.
Yeah.
This is an uphill twister, even if it doesn't really look it. I'm sure you've done it. Anyone who's done twister uphill realizes that because the bars face front back rather than side to side, it's really your wrist gets in the way of swinging well uphill. You either have to turn with an inward grip and grab it and swing, but it's just not super confidence inspiring unless you're an Ethan or a VJ or like an Aaron Newell or someone like that. So I think it's just the safe, quick way, especially with only 2 sections, 2 transitions, go backwards, fast hands like she did, and just move on with your day.
Yeah, and look at the carnage that's taking place. Right now, it's also the age group national series, right?
Yes.
Same time. Just they started slightly after, but you can already see all the sled drag that had previously been done. It was already packing down the grass, so it seemed to be a little bit smoother than when we saw it in the regular race or the pro race. 15 minutes in, already easier.
So Jack, you've rabbited this course. You've been out on some of the tougher courses in Spartan history. Where do you rank the difficulty of just purely the terrain, the environment, the altitude, the heat, which we always get heat here, and the terrain?
Yeah.
How does this course stack up against the other big mountain races that Spartan offers?
I would say this course being in July versus if it was April or October makes a huge difference. That heat is unavoidable. Most people, they're going to look at it and be like, oh, it's dry, so you're not going to fail anything. It can't be that bad. But 8,500 feet is what you're climbing up to. I'm used to elevation, so it doesn't impact me as much since I live in Colorado. But if you're coming from the East Coast or anywhere that isn't an elevation, since it's the best 3 out of 3 series, you need to go to all of them. This could be a rude awakening. But yeah, I would say this ranks up there with one of the harder ones. Just look at how often you've seen them running on like nice smooth fire roads. It hasn't been too often. You see it a little bit right here, but for the most part, it's been bushwhacking, just pretty rocky descents. Just it's not a smooth course at all. A lot of broken running, unless you're someone like Hawk, where you're able to just keep grinding away the whole time.
Yeah, and you look now, I mean, things, I don't know if full bloom ever really applies to Utah, but this is as close to full bloom as we see. It's the most overgrown the trails are going to get. It's the hottest the temperature is going to get. The worst type of altitude is hot altitude. And that's 100%. What they get out here every year. This July time stamp, you're right, really challenges the athletes.
If this was 2 months earlier or 2 months later, I don't think that this course would be as horrible in a good way. But I think that in terms of terrain, I would say Kelowna was a little bit more difficult. Big Bear, it's steeper, but I would say this course might be a little bit harder, just from experience. Big Bear has a lot of like punchy, you've got 300 feet up, 300 feet down. Like you're repeating that. This has just a giant climb all the way back to the bottom. Do it again. Like you've got very extended climbs and descents. Wow, that was a technique.
Now that's about as fast as you're ever going to see Bender completed. Both guys flew through, but
that first guy almost
you don't want to be any
scorpion on the ground. I have never seen that form before. Credit.
He knew what he was doing. He saw that camera and he said, "I'm putting on a show."
Yeah.
And he did. I'm impressed.
Yeah. Bracken, just we were talking about the descending, the differences for men and women, how you were saying that it seems like the top men are just a little bit better relative to the pack than the top women are at descending. So would that change your answer if you were, a woman, you'd rather be a better descender? Because we've seen in the past athletes like Faye Stenning, Rhea Coble, that Miriam Guillaboisse, that the fantastic climbers don't always win the race, but the ones like Lindsay and Nicole's a pretty solid descender also. Zuzana was a fantastic descender. They seem to have more success than in the men's field, where you had, typically the best climbers were doing the best.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know. These are high level questions, Jack. I'm a simple man, but I think that you have to be able to either match the skill set of people around you or counter it. And you would have to be pretty good at descending to counter some of the climbing that exists in this sport. I do believe that there is a link between willingness to send descents and obstacle proficiency. I think if you look at the people who we would consider some of the best descenders in the sport, it very often is the same people who are very dynamic through obstacles. And so I don't know if that's like always going to be a 1-to-1 correlation, but it seems to go hand in hand that you kind of get 2 for the price of 1. If you're wired that way, you generally have them both.
I have never thought of it that way, but I think you're right. Like Ryan Kempson, one of the best in the sport at descending and obstacles. Rylan, always full send. VJ, in the women's field, I would say like Alex Walker, great descender, and she's risking it on obstacle, or very proficient there. Mm-hmm. You've got a good point there.
Yeah, and the people who are safe on descents are kind of safe on obstacles. You look throughout history, like Cody Moat, he was kind of safe on both of them. And when he had a weakness, it was one of those two. You look at the women's side, like Araya, she was very good at obstacles, but she didn't take chances. Lindsay,
same way that she. Go ahead. Chris Rogloski, fantastic descender.
Right. Yeah, you mentioned Faye. Faye was powerful, but she had a lot of hangups on obstacles. mentally had a hard time dealing with heights and sending things. So there just seems to be that link between the two. And in this sport, if you can descend hard and fly in and out of obstacles, you get that 2-for-1 type overtake.
I like how quickly Lisa gets in and out of obstacles, it seems.
Yeah, and I don't think you can fake this energy.
No.
She's moving like
She's almost
someone
90
who's
minutes
still
in.
Yeah, she's still within herself. She still has options. She still has moves to make. You don't jump off that smile and accelerate just out of show. Maybe for the first 40 minutes, not 90 minutes in. Those options have left you by now. You don't notice the cameras 90 minutes in if you're trashed.
Yeah, real good arm swing still, and she's just kind of stepping over like the big rocks. Looks like here she might be catching her breath to make sure that she doesn't fail this and have to take a penalty loop, because you don't know how long the penalty loops are. The way they're typically structured, if it's a harder obstacle, you're going to get a harder penalty loop to offset failing a more difficult and time-consuming obstacle.
Yeah, and we saw that was the only section we've seen Lauren have any pause through. She slowed down her cadence. She walked that whole section. She didn't run a step of that transition there. So that seems to be kind of par for the course right now. And we're just seeing a safe approach here.
I was going to say Lisa's doing the Cody Moat method you just described. Just get it done. No risk, but very competent right there.
Yeah, and right back to her high cadence running. That's a competent mountain runner right there. Again, first time I've been able to watch her on screen doing her thing in the middle of a race. 90 minutes in, looking really good at it.
Curious to see where Casey is, because when we saw Casey earlier on the leaderboard, I think she was about 2:15 behind.
Because they were neck
and
all the way down to where I left them.
Coming back towards Bender, this looks like probably right around where 2 minutes would be, having to go through Bender and then having to go through Twister. So it looks like Lisa may have created a bigger gap than she had before.
Well, just going off visuals, if Casey's staying in range at all, then she's having a really solid stretch of racing, because Lisa looks fantastic.
Yeah. And if we're looking at Casey, who ended up getting third place at Jacksonville and third place at Big Bear, she's in third place right here. Remember last year, Emmanuel Defoe came over from Switzerland, got third place in every single national series race. So maybe three's the lucky number for someone each year, it seems.
Well, and what happened at the top of each one of those races? It was Annie Dewey. She won, but she's not here, so she is disqualified from the series. That puts Casey right in the driver's seat of winning this thing.
I don't agree with that point structure, honestly, if I'm just being transparent, but because it's like if you win 2 of the 3 races, you are the best racer in the series overall. But I get that's just the structure that they have right now.
Yeah, I don't think you should be punished for being dominant. If you can win it in 2, all the more power to you.
Yeah. It would be like losing the the points title in basketball just because you sat out a game. It's like, well, I had the most the rest of the year. Yeah.
But I think we're going to see a different series structure next year. The people who put this series in play aren't the ones making the rules for next year, and I'm excited to see what they come up with.
Yeah, and at this point, right now, Casey, she has 38 points heading into this race. Julie Best has 30, 29 for Jordan Housladen, and Vivian Tran has 24. So it's going to take a serious gap. Casey would have to fall apart, and Julie or Jordan would probably have to come back and win the race at this point and get some serious points over her to knock Casey from winning the series title.
That Jordan-Julie battle with 1 point separating them, I believe, currently in the standings, 30-29, is that what you said?
Correct.
They're both out on course here today. So the
And
second half of this course has major series implications.
Yep. Jordan got 14 points to Julie getting 13 points in Jacksonville. Jordan ended up finishing 29 seconds ahead of her. And then in Big Bear, Julie ended up finishing in 5th place and Jordan finished in 7th place. So that difference of 2 places versus 1 the previous race made the big difference. So just gotta play catch up.
Yeah, whoever wins here is going to what would that be? 3rd place for the series, and the other is going to be off the podium.
That's correct. Casey's a veteran. She looks like she got up that a little bit smoother than Lisa did.
We might be talking 4 or 5 minutes at this point. Up to Lisa.
I think 126. I remember she was running through that like section approaching Twister. So you might be right. We're approaching 4 or 5 minutes at this point. Casey looks a little fatigued, or just doesn't have as much spring in her step compared to Lisa.
Mm-hmm. And they have much different mechanics as they run.
Of course, yeah.
Lisa's just a peppier runner, but yeah, she's
Look who it
obviously
is.
losing a little gap, but here it is.
That is not Jordan. That's Julie Best. Got to really use those ups to get up there. Shorter athlete. So Casey's looking back. I wonder if she's just trying to see how big of a gap she has on Julie at this point.
Mm-hmm. Well, she's in the moment very much concerned about am I cultivating a lead or am I fighting off a podium spot? And big picture, she absolutely came into this race knowing that Jordan was a marked woman. She needs to see her, mark her on course, and know where she is for the series implications.
Yep. And you talked about the opposite grip. Look what Casey's doing with her left arm.
Yeah.
Her palms are not facing each other. Her left hand, which is the one that she's using to kind of have that outside grip so that she can stay forward the whole time.
Yeah.
I
and
personally
that would allow you
think
to
it's very
skip
uncomfortable.
Around.
Yeah.
It's
good job.
Yeah. She obviously has good grip strength because that requires a different type of grip ability to stay on, but it gives you just better range of motion with your wrist. It doesn't kind of lock against itself. It gets to rotate a little better. So if you can do it, you're faster, but it's certainly riskier.
Yeah, a lot more straining on
it's
your
a tight
wrist.
race here.
Julie's with 20 seconds or so. I know that in Palm Beach for the 3K last year, several women fell off the rig that they had because they had the ropes, the thin ropes at the end, and Julie made it through, and she ended up finishing on the podium. So she is as obstacle proficient as anybody in this field for the women. Making it look easy. Just right back into stride. Julie looks like she's got a lot of energy left at this point.
Yeah, she's going to need it. We've got quite a climb coming up here,
Yes.
Jack Bauer. What are we talking? 3 miles of climbing followed by what? 4.5, 5 miles of descending?
Let's get that course map up again as the water is on camera, which all athletes are probably desperately craving at the moment.
So we're just getting done with Twister here.
About 7
Which
miles in. We're
leaves
right about
them
the
with
halfway point.
About 2 miles, mile and a half of climbing left. Mile and three quarters climb to the top, and a long descent down. And if you can get to the top with any sort of legs left, there are moves to be made. And if you get to the top, questioning if your legs can make it to the bottom, that is going to be a long, stressful descent to the finish.
Couldn't have said it better. Yeah, you were going to be regretting those final 40, 45 minutes of the race. So Balin Bean looking like he's in third place.
There's no free footsteps through a lot of this course. You're having to pick your way and get your knees lifted up through a lot of this stuff. And just, this is an awkward obstacle to start with. Now you're going through shin and knee high, just scrub, and it's not smooth. There are some mountains where you're...
the stumble.
Nice job.
Yeah, I mean, this obstacle is going to be a lot easier tomorrow when it gets trampled down and stuff. Balin has just everything in the way of him trying to move that thing smoothly. I think Armor's, if they made it a little bit longer, that could be a pretty taxing obstacle.
Yeah, and especially 95 minutes into a race where you don't want to engage your groin and the sides and insides of your legs right now. Those don't want to fire right now, and you're forced to. And you look at the side of the road here. That's how the terrain looks underneath all that scrub grass. It's not like he's just walking through grass. There are divots constantly and rocks underneath his feet there, and you saw one of them got him, and he almost went down with it. And that's a quick way to wrench your back. That's a quick way to pull a groin. But when you're this depleted, it doesn't take much more than a 60-pound concrete ball hanging off a chain to throw you off your game.
Yeah, I think that's Lauren Griffiths, who's one of the rabbits right there.
Great racer in her own right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
You
I
think
think
she's looking at Lauren Weeks out
Utah
here
also.
thinking, I
could do this.
might have given this a shot today.
She should have. I think she's from Utah.
Absolute
or
monster, Lauren Griffith.
Oregon.
Absolute monster.
Yeah.
Who designed that? Oh, wait, I see. I think I see second place at the top.
I bet a lot of athletes right there. You've got the chairlifts. They're like, man, I would do anything to just get in this thing, get me to the top of this race, or maybe take it to the bottom at the end, because might be an hour 36 in, but most racers, unless you're like Hawk Call, are going to have well over 45 minutes to an hour left.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Women's side, I don't think you might not see anyone break 3. This is going to be a long
Maybe
day
Lauren
on
with the
course.
way I could see like Lauren, she was a couple of minutes back at Ethan Brown, and I think that he should be sub 3.
Yeah, she could.
So should be the pick.
If she remains, I use the word competent not in skill set, but in like her body not failing herself. If her legs remain competent for that final descent and she's able to roll it a little bit, yeah, she could be sub 3 today for sure.
Mm-hmm. And earlier in this race, you were talking about how could any other High Rocks or DECA hybrid athlete be leading a national series like this, or at least a mountain beast be doing well?
Kent.
I think Viola Oberlander. Yeah, that well, at this point in his career, I don't think Kent's keeping up with Hawk Hall.
No, but we've at least seen him. He's won
Yeah,
these races.
That's true.
But
yeah,
you think
but
Viola?
I would say she's still racing, and she just got 6th place overall, combining like age group and elite for the Morzine Beast, which is a nasty one. And she ended up getting 13th at the 2022 Abu Dhabi World Championship, and she got 14th in the 2022 European Beast Championship. So I'd say she's probably the other one at this point who I would say could hang in hybrid and the mountains.
I'll tell you what, we've seen him in OCR before, but never in his current form. I would love to see Dylan Scott come back and try some long course OCR now that he's probably like a minute per mile faster across his paces than when the last time we saw him in OCR was. He has leveled up his running to such an extent that I'd be fascinated to see him race a beast or an ultra. Fascinated.
I agree. If it's not like a crazy technical one, if you're at, say, I don't know, like a Seattle or something, I know that gets a little muddy, but I would love seeing him.
Any trail
You
runs.
said slow?
I see him all the time putting in hour-long trail runs and such. I'd like to see him rip. I mean, he's now run some legitimately quick road runs. His running is just night and day from what it was when he started as an OCR athlete. I want to see him come back and do one.
Yeah. I mean, we saw the transformation that Hawk Hall has made in a couple of years, like fantastic runner, but now he's like all around athlete at this point. And Dylan has certainly made that transformation over the past couple of years. Yeah, he'd be a great pick.
And we just saw him do the DECA Ultra and just obliterate not just the field, but our own expectations of what someone could physically accomplish. I'd love to see him get into a Spartan Ultra.
He basically, like, let's put ourselves in a time machine and we're like, no one can break 4 minutes in the mile. He just ran a 350. He just did the impossible and then some. We did not think that it was possible to perform the way he did. So crazy.
Yeah. So Dylan, if you happen to catch this, I know some of your friends, training partners will watch this. Let's start it up. Let's get you to a race. I'm sure we can come up with an entry code for you. Pick a race. We'll help sponsor it.
Speaking of getting to a race, this guy on camera right here, I want to know the rest of his race schedule. I want to see Hawk Call go to Abu Dhabi or Greece for the Trifecta World Championship. I think he might be the man to beat in the sport at the moment, especially on the terrain that they're going to see there.
Can you imagine him and Basilico 3 days of racing in Greece?
Battle.
Just the two best runners in the sport, arguably. I'm sure there are other people who would have a say in this. This is a man taking his time right now. This is a guy who has a lead.
Feeling the aches a little bit.
Has a big race in his legs from the day before, saying, all right, I'm not cramping.
Yeah, and
Now
he's
in the
getting
background, it looked like
everything.
some animals on the far side. Did you see that?
An animal.
Maybe I'm
The only
just seeing
animal I see
shadow
on
from the ski lift.
the only animal I see is Hawk Call.
And he has leopard print and all. Look at that. That is someone not risking a thing.
Nope.
But him and Gregory Basilico, I would love to watch them. They both have that open, fluid roadrunner stride, but they can adapt it to any terrain. I would just absolutely pay to watch those two at the Greek Trifecta Championships or in Abu Dhabi.
Yeah.
And I'd
I
love to
think
see him do the next 6-hour race.
Oh yeah, that 8-hour one in
8-hour,
Alula,
Tough Mudder
that would
8-hour,
be-
yeah.
That would have been a fantastic format for him. I think Hawk Call, absolutely. Like, we have not seen an American do well in Trifecta World Championship. We've seen a lot of North Americans, whether Canada or US. Like, we've seen Ryan Atkins never really, he didn't win the race. I think he got third the second time he went over there, and he was like 7th to 10th the first time. We saw Ryan Woods, we saw Killian when he won a world championship, Aaron Newell, Chris Brown has gone over there. Just on the men's side, Rylan Shadegg getting second place a couple times. But we haven't seen anybody take home the win, and I think Hawk Call will be our best bet at the moment. A healthy Rylan would obviously be in contention, but he's dealing with some health issues at the moment, unfortunately. Yeah. And it would have been great seeing him on this type of course as well.
And we also never got to see a healthy Ryan Atkins there, unfortunately. I think that's probably the only thing missing from his resume, unfortunately. And I hope we get to see him someday. I know right now he's out on the Spartan scene, but he is, if you had to pick someone to be good at that kind of thing, it would be Ryan Atkins. But he had a leg thing, I believe, and he had a back thing pop up the day or two before one of the years. So, I mean, look at Hawk. He looked so tired for a second there, and then he just got right back to climbing fast.
I mean, just being honest, I'm picking a 25-year-old Hawk Call in his current form over Ryan Atkins, who's 37, 38 in his current form. No disrespect. He's arguably the greatest of all time, but our best shot at the moment would be Hawk Call if anybody's going to stay with Gregory Basilico on that type of terrain.
If we're saying our, as in North America,
yes.
Yeah, maybe. But I learned a long time ago that every time I pick against Ryan Atkins, he makes a fool out of me.
Safest
3
pick
days
in the
of
world.
obstacles, 3 days of things going on. He's just always there. So I don't want to pick between them. I just want them all there. I just want the best of everything in this sport. I just want to always see the best racing. But I really do want to see Hawk and Gregory go at it.
Because Hawk truly hasn't been challenged this year in OCR.
No.
Like, it's hard to put into
perspective. 2 years since he's been challenged.
Well, he did the 3K last year for one of the races, I believe.
Yeah, I don't know if I really count the 3K as like the current form of the sport, but I understand what you're saying.
Yeah, because
he got fourth in supers, beasts.
Yeah, his terrain. Yeah, because he got fourth in Big Bear and fifth in Palmerton last year for the 3K series. So he can go fast. We know that he's got the speed. Got some audio. But yeah, I think that is, if I had an OCR wish list for the rest of 2024, it would be to get a battle between Gregory Basilico, who's right on form, and Hawk Call, who has just leveled up so much, but we don't know how good it is because he's been so dominant.
Mm-hmm. You know, it's funny, when the trifecta was first brought into existence, it was kind of the afterthought of the pros year. As we see Isaac coming up, one
Fourth
for the
place.
mouth, one over the head,
Cooling off.
Oh, 2 for the mouth. and now it's suddenly becoming one of the premier sport events where we're talking about this, like, this could be our Super Bowl. The trifecta kind of encapsulates everything that Spartan could be.
Any of the women are behind you?
Yeah, I mean, just think of who has raced it at some point. We've seen Esther Hotobagiova, we've seen Nicole Miracle win it, Zuzana on the women's. Basically, a who's who. Chris Rogloski, Rose Wetzel have gone over there. We've seen Luca Pascolderung do well in it, and he's really emerged in the past year as one of the best athletes on the planet. Gregory Basilico won it. Rylan Shattuck. It really is a who's who. Probably the most sought after
Richard Hynek
race.
Yeah.
Yep, exactly. And it's accessible. That's the thing. It's in Europe, so it's everybody in Europe has an excuse to go there, and it's more achievable to reach there for a lot of people in North America than heading over to the Middle East, for instance.
All right, so we just saw Isaac Sanderson come through. We believe he's still in 4th place. We don't have confirmation, but we just saw the cameraman point up and throw a 1. Is there any chance Lauren Weeks is about to come through here, this close to Isaac, or is that
would be ridiculous?
Or I guess last quarter, whatever it is from here.
She threw up a 1.
I couldn't tell if it was just pointing or if throwing up a 1.
I mean, at this point, there probably would have been a ton of climbing. That looks like Lauren actually right there.
I also don't know how spread out.
This is outlandish.
There's no way. If that's incredible.
We'll see how well.
Arms flat. That is Lauren, because she just had like a 20-30 minute climb. She's in 5th place on the overall men and women.
We think, yeah.
Hey.
Still laughing and smiling.
So come to the red one.
Overran the women's ball.
Oh no. Okay, so take 15 seconds off her time. Yeah.
Just to
It wouldn't matter.
What?
She wouldn't notice.
I know. Yeah. She probably wanted to pick up the men's one.
I would have gotten it on camera.
1:47:50 into the race, and she's within a minute of Isaac Sanderson. We think about a minute, and we think she's in 5th overall. She caught Ethan Brown on that climb, and is running out with, again, I keep using this, running out with cadence and pace. Hour 48 into the race, still turning over, looking relatively energetic.
Getting lost, not even phasing her.
Turnover.
Running the wrong. Yeah.
This is a High Rocks athlete, ladies and gentlemen.
I want to see Meg Jacoby do this also.
Close the gals are. It's hard because there's so many
She's another one I'm learning not to put anything past.
Let's hear.
Yeah.
He might give her a year.
behind. It could be closer, be further.
Yeah. Oh yeah, but I don't know if they actually get, because they're gonna commentate over.
There was a new obstacle.
Oh, which one?
It was like monkey bars, but there were ropes connecting them.
Oh.
Someone's never done a heap hanger.
It went up, so you kind of had to do a pull up.
That actually sounds fun.
It's harder than I mean, not that I had more than 3 seconds to assess it, but it's harder than I thought.
Yeah, this was one of my favorite things about rabbiting back in the day, when I would be with, whether it's Emma Cook Clark or Lindsay Webster or Annie, just the casual conversations you have during the race. They're all going all out, realistically, like at the highest sustainable output that they can do for a 2 to 3 hour effort, but it's not fast enough where they can't talk. And it's just really cool just seeing just the conversation, or hearing the conversations that happen during a race for the top athletes.
That's my favorite part of the race so far. We got to just sit back and listen to Lauren casually describe her experience on course so far. Not sounding like she's running up at about 7,500, 8,500 feet uphill. Just sounds like she's kind of aerobic at this point. And recounting, hey, I saw a new obstacle. That was kind of fun.
I just like the
different
innocent description. She's like, oh, it's like monkey bars on a rope, and it's like, I guess that is what it is. I just know of it as ape hanger, but it's like most people, that's how you describe it, like a sagging monkey bars on a rope.
And then she says it was kind of fun, and it was harder than I thought it would be. Just like, what? She's just such a pure competitor. She's talked about in interviews before that she doesn't really care how she's doing in relation to the field. She just wants to do her best, and then she's happy. And she appears very happy out on course today. And you know what, we were talking about player comps before, saying that we're getting a little bit of a Rhea Coble imagery from how Lisa was running. Get a little bit of face stunning with Lauren's running.
Powerful, like arm swing.
Powerful arm swing, bit of a lean, high cadence.
But Faye always looked like she was suffering. I don't feel like Lauren looks like she's suffering.
Not out here today.
Visually, I mean.
Yeah, no, she looks very much visually. She appears to be in control of everything she's doing, and her breathing and her voice while talking would indicate no different.
Yeah, that
Jack,
sounds like
live
if
at
you and I
altitude.
just, yeah.
I lived out at
I was gonna
altitude right next to you for a couple of years. We did not sound like that running up a mountain.
No, I'm intentionally not having a lot of conversations when I'm going uphill because it's hard, especially when you're really high altitude. And Lauren's like, whatever. Looks like we got
All right.
number one doing some switchbacks. I can see her. It's going in and out of focus. We'll probably see her in about 20 seconds. It's looking
That's
like.
Hawk call.
Oh, Hawk. Yeah. Okay.
Really
Sorry,
blends
he was
into
so
that
fast.
hillside though.
Yeah, I'm used to him wearing the black and white pirate booty shorts. Seems to be a signature
Leopard
of
print
his.
for us today. Special
Yeah.
occasion.
He's worn like some colorful dinosaur ones also. He has the attire of a first place racer. He's just gliding. He has like a lower arm carriage, kind of like John Albin does.
Bit of that track
Just
runner
like
style.
downhill. Yeah.
Now,
But can you hear the pitter patter of the rabbit keeping up with Hawk? Like it is not Hawk's stride.
this is the stride of someone who's making a splash on the mountain and trail running scene this year. That's the stride of a professional runner, not just a good OCR athlete in the mountains. This is next level running. A couple of years ago, I DNF'd from the Ultra in Tahoe, but made it.
Couple years,
You know,
probably 6 years ago, Bracken. It's been a while.
That's a few.
2019, right?
So it's not a couple. But anyways, it was about 20 miles I got in. 20 miles, 4 hours. So just a little bit longer than what Hawk did yesterday. Probably about the same vert, 6,000 feet or so. And I felt how he felt the next day. And I got out on course and was watching people. And after about 90 minutes or so, the downhill started to open back up for me. And I was running some downhills back down to the village to catch up to watch some people, some of my buddies in the sport. And I was running them better than I was the day before. And I wonder if Hawk's starting to get a little bit of that, where he's got that initial morning heaviness, soreness out of the way, and his legs are starting to come alive a little bit for him on this descent because he looks a little flowier than he was early on.
So basically, you're saying if you want to feel real good the next day, just do like 20 miles, 6,000 feet of change, and then probably like an hour and a half in, you'll feel good.
Maybe if you're Chris Roglaski. No, for regular people, no. But I will say that your legs might lie to you for the first 30 to 60 minutes, and then they might.
I never
accept
trust to warm up.
your effort.
Yeah.
Can't
never
trust a warm
warm
up.
up.
In day two, it might take a while to get day one out of your legs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Hawk's just bounding down that hill. Looks like this might be a sandbag carry, just based on the two bins.
That
right
means we
there.
have started the carry gauntlet. So we're going to have at least 2 carries.
Number 16.
In these final few miles.
I love it when they go downhill first and uphill at the end.
Yeah, it sets you up to blow up.
Yep. Because Big Bear, you're always going uphill and then downhill you close. Like if at Tahoe, you always went down the bowl and then up. Palmerton, you had some nasty uphill finishes, if I remember right. Like I like it when you finish up.
I like on a mountain when they can get one of each. Like you said,
bucket,
Tahoe,
you might
you
want
get
the
your
opposite.
Tahoe, you get your uphill bucket, finish downhill, then your downhill sandbag or log carry, whichever they use that year, finish uphill. Down to you, Jason.
So we've got a clock calling first on the sandbag carry. Nobody seemingly close to him. The sandbag carry is pretty steep, probably about 50 yards down, 50 yards back up. Pretty nasty terrain, as you can see, very grown over. A lot of stuff that you guys got to bushwhack through because he's the first one through it. Still not seeing him come back up yet. It's a good little ways down there. There he is.
Guy blends in. Yeah, he's got plenty of energy still moving like that at this late in the race.
Yeah, still keeping a high cadence with that weight on his back. When he entered the sport, he had two weaknesses. Yeah. Heavy carries and upper body obstacles. We haven't seen him challenged on either one yet in a while.
As long as there's no tire flip, he's good.
Look how deep that grass
I know.
Scrub is.
You can't even see his shorts. Like, it's truly waist high. And like you said, this isn't just nice. This isn't wheatgrass, like nice and easy. This is like bushwhacking. Stuff's going to stick to you, cut you up. Not fun.
If anyone was made through their childhood to be comfortable with this, though, it was him. He and his family were always shirtless, barefoot, running around, rolling in the snow, crawling in the grass. He was brought up to be okay with this type of thing, but I don't know if it ever feels pleasant on course.
No way.
Never.
And just the fact that the fact that he ran those final 30 steps or so, that he didn't need to do that. You can see it on screen. He has a 4-minute 57 gap as of about 10 minutes ago. He's got this in control. He didn't see anybody coming near him, yet he's still doing it the day after a monster race. I don't know what he's capable of this year. That's why I want to see him so bad against a guy like Gregory Basilico or at Spartan Worlds.
And we've been to the top of a heavy carry up a steep mountain at altitude. You have no real choice usually, let alone desire, to run it the final few steps. He just did it with a 5-minute lead just because it's there for him. He's doing all these things you can't fake, which means he's not at his limit. And again, I don't think it can be said too many times. He raced 20-some K yesterday with 6,000 feet of gain and loss. That is a big effort in his legs coming into this. And he's 5 minutes ahead of a guy who's been top 10 at Spartan Race World Championships, top 10 at Western States. Like, these are monsters world behind him.
Yeah. Now, this is definitely steep. You can see with how short his stride length is, very choppy.
Yep, nothing to be gained here.
Probably feeling it. Yeah, don't get hurt, basically.
Lucky for me.
All right, now he's into the more runnable stuff. And you can see it's just downhill to the finish at this point. Mile 12 was that? Oh, what's going on here?
Got a little something inside his shoe.
Uh-oh. That? Okay.
He gave up on getting it and just kicked it down further so it wouldn't be chafing him in a weird spot.
Jeez.
That's the downside of wearing that bigger style. You can see it's not a real aggressive bottom. I'm embarrassed, Jack. I can't pick up on what model he's wearing, but it's more of a shoe than it is a off-trail racer. And one of the downsides of that is the openings around your ankle aren't quite as snug and tight, and stuff like this happens.
Yeah, I think you not being able to identify a shoe is like worse than me not remembering some stat. This is unlike you, Bracken. Oh, see, that was a little stumble. Yeah. See, I thought he did a little hop, like he rolled an ankle before. That was what I was seeing. His third or fourth step after.
Yeah, the shoe with the rock was the right foot, but he rolled his left ankle there.
Yeah, and you wonder if he may have done that in the race the day before or something.
Yeah, I mean,
a lot
probably.
of time on feet, anything can happen. And if he did the race in Utah, it can't be too different terrain than what he's seeing right there.
It's a little tamer what they run on. They stay on the trail more than off, but that doesn't make it any safer because then you just rip harder.
Yeah, exactly. So we're 2 hours in. I would be willing to bet.
Under that.
Yeah, keep your eyes on Chris Brown on the big screen. Good luck keeping him. But I'm willing to bet Hawk Call probably, if he was at mile 12 and he's about to enter the gauntlet with 10 or so obstacles. He might be
he's moving
less
with-
than 15 minutes. That was moving.
That's real quick.
Yeah, but I'd be willing to bet under 15 minutes left. Right around 2:15. There's the ankle again. Third time.
Oh.
Fourth.
Oh, that's when you've done it already and you get it again.
Yep.
You got all day, man.
He could have untied his laces slowly, done whatever he wanted. He's like, nah, I'm going.
Oh, Chris, you made it down. Good job, dude. Well done.
Now, Bracken, you came from the days when you had to carry the bucket in front of you. I miss those
Yeah.
days. I don't like
For
this
sure.
over the shoulder thing. I miss the strain on your lower back and how it was actually grip intensive. I don't mind that they have a lid on there to keep it uniform weight instead of, you know, a lot of variability when you had to fill it yourself and it could trip and fall out. But I wish that they returned to the front method.
Listen, it's still miserable. It's still a big challenge, but it's the same challenge as a sandbag or a log. So, yeah, I'd love to see them return to the front carry just because it's a different type of challenge, stresses things very differently. And even just the mechanics of how you move your legs with that front carry versus the back is everything. It also can take out your grip. So,
How
look at
funny
this,
is
though.
it? You have Chris Brown on the inset carrying the sandbag in front of him and Hawk carrying the bucket on his shoulder. It's a strange world we live in.
It is. But Hawk's still running from time to time with this thing. Look at this panorama,
Pretty soon
though.
we'll- yeah. I'm guessing we'll get an update on the women's, or, you know, Lauren most likely in first place pretty soon.
Yeah, if she's not in first place, something catastrophic happened.
Something real bad happened. Yeah, what an amazing venue. Jack Goris getting in the way. Jeez.
Yep.
To be clear, we're kidding, Jack. You're doing great.
I know, yeah. He's Jack number 2. I'm Jack number 1.
Jack number 2. Like Kempson,
I
too.
make sure he knows that. Yeah.
Now we see Lauren. We're going to get to see the female leader go through, compare it to how the male leader went through. First of all, she's not going up in between as high.
She's staying low. Yep.
Now she's getting that.
Yeah. Hawk going the correct way with the blind corner first, or, you know, the preferred way, I would say.
That's it. That's the trail. Yep.
You didn't have the didn't look like we had the extended Z-wall this week.
No. Oh, there's
The
Lauren
extra
standing up.
panel and the ropes.
The ropes, and yeah.
I feel like at least it's a little taller than normal.
Now it looks like Hawk might actually be in those Adidas Agravix speeds. I know yesterday he ran in the pro version, the carbon rod or the glass rotted super shoe, which explains part of why he may have rolled his ankle. But man, if you're on shoes that are a little bit tippy and you've already rolled your ankle, you are in a compromised descending
High
mode the rest of the day.
Yep. Lauren is just talking, just casually, and for all we know, she may have passed Isaac at this point, because when we saw her last, she was maybe 45, 50 seconds behind him, and Isaac was looking hot.
He's in 4th.
Okay, sounds like Lauren Griffith is giving little status updates to Lauren Weeks. So
As far
sounds
as
like
we
she's
can
in
tell,
fifth
she's
overall.
5th place overall and still looking fast. Well, I now want to see her at the next Deca Ultra.
Yep. I mean, Chris Rogloski, Lauren Weeks, I think the two of them, that would be unbelievable battle. And we still had a good showing from like Brooklyn Nichols, who ended up winning it. 3:20 going under that is a really respectable time, but it'd be great seeing the two of them.
Hawk down in the festival area.
So 10 obstacles left, under a mile. I think that 2:15, 2:16 is what it's looking like. There we go. Still got energy. Pretty easy rig today. Just ringed in a bar. No ropes this year.
Yeah, as
He's
far as a
flailing
beast rig
everywhere.
goes,
That
it's
was-
tame-ish.
Yeah. Now, it was around this point 3 years ago when we saw Hawk come in and they had the tire flip and everyone was losing their mind. Oh, a second barbed wire crawl.
He almost passed out coming out of that tire flip that year.
Yeah, that was 100% total effort. Like, he truly reached his limit trying to get that.
Yeah. Yeah, we had Hobie, Benny, the whole family run along next to him here.
Yeah. But I think the 2024 version of Hawk Hall wouldn't struggle as much with that. It would still be heavy to him, but I think that he would have been able to get through it a lot more manageably.
So are you voting for a return of the tire to the sport?
Yes. Yeah. Absolutely.
Is there a place for that in obstacle course racing, a task like pick up something heavy?
I know it's a task.
Or do we just want it because it changes the dynamic?
I mean, Hawk's going to win anyway in a race like that, but I do think that it basically has a deadlift like component, and that's just how heavy can you lift something off the ground. That's a pretty primitive movement style. It's not really a skill. So I don't know. I feel like there's nothing wrong with the best runners being the ones who win, but like having a couple things that can separate and go more on the skill side or the strength side isn't a bad thing in my opinion.
Look at these two on split screen here. This is beautiful running to watch.
Lauren, stop and get water. A little bit of shade right there. That's a good place for a water station. The sun gets
Hawk,
blocked
2 hours,
because of
8 minutes into the
chairlift.
race, still just flying through some trails.
Yeah.
Running a pace
think
that a
he's
lot
doing
of
tomorrow?
people
Oh.
would be envious for in a 10K.
Yeah. That was confusing. I probably would have gone right there as well. So
Yeah.
that's- Oh yeah, we saw Chris Brown a couple times on Stairway to Sparta have a little bit of difficulty, but having that ledge for the women definitely helps because a lot of them are shorter.
This thing gets steeper
Still not
every year.
easy.
That angle gets closed
Yeah.
off every year. it feels
Vertical
like.
almost. Yeah.
Yeah.
Him or don't.
Hawk, maybe one strength obstacle remaining, just a hoist.
Yeah. Which at this point, seeing where Chris
through
Brown
here
is,
always.
here's the Hercois. Let's see.
Oh,
That
foot
looked like
went
it
right
was
through
either
that.
way
Did you
too
see
heavy
that?
or his foot got stuck. I was like, it's one of the two.
yeah, his foot broke through the.
Went through the verticals.
Yeah.
No way. Still looks
This
a
is a
little
heavy-looking
challenging to
hoist.
him. Yeah.
Yeah.
One more.
No, yeah, you did.
There we go.
That was no gimme. That'll
we've
make
seen
the
this with-
purists happy.
Yeah, it's like we've seen this with guys like Gregory Basilico. Oh, first time he looks a little tired, but Hercoist is one of those rare obstacles still that can cause some issues, especially late into a race. If you're a lighter
And
guy,
right back to fast running. And we get to see Lauren through
Yeah.
some technical stuff now. And yeah, not ripping, but certainly not slow or bad by any means.
I don't remember the end of the course being like this bushwhacky
No.
when I rabbited a couple years ago. They're putting him in the woods probably less than half mile from the finish.
This looks like Alabama now.
Oh,
Balin.
Balin is very confident with those one-arm swings. You know his grip is there all day.
Oh, yeah. And that slightly downhill monkey bar
Looking
makes you feel like
good.
Superman.
Yep. Getting Kempson vibes right there.
Yeah, still looks good. Everyone we've seen on camera
Yeah.
still looks competent.
Here's where Ryland broke his foot a couple years ago. Hopefully, or his calcaneus or something. I forget what it was, but
It was foot-based.
yeah. That probably feels real good right now.
Yeah.
He is tentative.
Feels good, but if you're close to cramping, that water is going to send you over the edge.
Yep.
Not that he is, but someone's going to cramp in that today.
And I think he's got a rope climb. I wouldn't be surprised if he climbs all the way down just to be super careful on that landing, based on how we've seen over the past 10 minutes or so.
Still going
coming
to
down
see
off
no
everything.
arms? I meant no legs. No arms.
Oh, yeah.
just
No,
quite feet.
that'd be so impressive.
No legs
Okay.
on principle for that man. No hiking, no legs on the rope climb. Let him know.
I have never done an armless, or I did it too, a legless rope climb during a race. Always try doing it with the legs. Smaller target.
Real soaked.
Don't pull a Chris Brown.
These small targets are no gimmies, though. I will not be surprised to see him miss.
And yeah, a little disappointed.
Right there.
Now he's got,
right.
he's got a big enough cushion. Oh, did he roll it
ankle
again? Oh, injury to insult. That must
Yeah.
be maddening.
It's like, I just want to be done. So he started the penalty loop right around 2:13.
Lauren's
He
really in
didn't
the
get
thick
right
of it
into
now.
it, but yeah.
This is as tough as descending gets right here.
Yeah,
Dry
she's basically
creek
at
bed.
a walk at the moment. Yep. Got all the
Stuff
the
just
river
giving out
stones turned
underneath you.
over. Now, this is the second straight race that Hawk Call has missed his spear. He missed it in Big Bear, and he absolutely flew during that penalty loop. And we've been talking about wanting to see him at Trifecta Worlds or Abu Dhabi World Championship. You got to hit it there. We saw Gregory Basilico
match up
miss a
well with
World Championship
Basilico.
in the Beast. Yeah.
He
But
also
had the
flew
win
during
and then
his
missed
missed spear throw penalty loop.
I was like, I'm pretty worried about keeping up with the top athletes on uphill sections.
Now, I believe
So,
this is the descent we saw
Take like
2 years ago
one of the
where Chris
downhills.
rolled her ankle.
And they're like, well,
And it was not
you're
this
one of the faster
overgrown.
ones of us here right now. And I was like, that's unfortunate.
I remember
for
it being
everyone in that
open,
case.
like a lot more.
Unless this is a different part of the
No one's
mountain,
getting
but I
me
don't believe
uphill.
so. Must have had a
Oh
wet
my gosh,
spring,
I tried
Jack.
to keep up with him and was like, I think I need to get
Yeah, she's just picking her way down. She's not bothering.
Yeah.
Just running her mouth as much as her feet at this point.
So it looked
Chatting
like
away.
Hawk Call just got out of the penalty loop. That was about 1:40. That's a good penalty.
Yeah.
Don't miss your
Yeah,
spear.
that is. Full quarter mile.
Yeah, he said he's
Worth the
doing
time at his effort.
Yep.
And yet he's still got minutes back. He's still probably 3 or 4 minutes up.
Yeah, Chris Brown just get it, presumably in second place. I know we saw Balin being on monkey bars, but I think he was a couple minutes back relative.
She has a
some piece in the race. together.
hoist and a spear lead.
Yep. And a spear penalty is already done, so yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we only have 1 or 2 left for Hawk. Hurdle? That I've never seen hurdle this late into the race. Usually that's like the first
No.
one.
Yeah, that's usually the
Very
rhythm breaker
different.
they throw in up the mountain.
Yeah.
These are just annoyances at this point.
Yeah.
Just let me get to the finish.
One more. That was obstacle 29 of 30, and he has himself the win.
I think the hoist, a heavy hoist at the end of a hard mountain beast, is the rudest obstacle to place there. Just kicks you right in the gut.
Oh, are you seeing on
we have a
cam,
pass.
Cam 3, we just saw Ethan pass Lauren. Oh, she's losing that top 5. All right, so this is Hawk's final obstacle. Slip
So
wall.
here's where we're seeing what she's talked about.
Yep. So with an absolutely
Competent on everything.
dominating. Yeah.
Go ahead.
We'll just
Jack.
give Hawk the call.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think with an absolutely dominating performance a day after a mountain race, 20 miles under his legs, 6,000 feet of descending, he comes back and beats a few of the best climbers in the sport in dominating fashion despite several ankle rolls. This was an impressive performance by Hawk Call.
Way to kill it.
Yeah, he's proven that he's at the very top of the North American OCR scene right now. And like you called for earlier, the only final step now is let's see him on the world stage.
Looks like we got Balin over here. All right, dude, great job. Let's
We
I
have
think
yet
he's
to
as
see him at
confident-
a world championship.
Correct. Yeah, he was either in college, like the year where he could have done it, or just didn't end up having the funds maybe to get over there. But I would really love to see him get over there. It's probably worth an investment on his end to make sure he can get to Abu Dhabi also with that prize money on the line. But yeah, impressive performance, Hawk Call. Congratulations on the win. He's reaching his dad's level, if not exceeding race to race at the moment. He's very, very impressive. Great form.
Mm-hmm. So you can see that Ethan Brown is now out of sight from Lauren. And we found the one weakness in her OCR game currently, and that is that if it gets steep and technical, she's not going to try to send it. Now, she's right back to running fast. She's can run fire roads.
Yeah.
She can run trail descents. But that one specific type has now, we've seen it. But look at this now. She just had like a 5-minute respite, and she's back to ripping.
So I'm going to jump in real quick on Chris Brown. So I talked to him after his missed spear throw in Big Bear. He ran away thinking that he hit it, but he hadn't cleared the zone, meaning he hadn't got past the last target. Look at him running all the way to the end. I told him, like, you need to get to the end just in case that happens again. So if it falls out, you're out of the zone.
Nice.
He's like, I don't care. I nailed it this year.
Good stuff.
There it
It's
is.
in.
Triple check.
Yeah.
I think Balin
Yep.
took a wrong turn.
Uh-oh, Balin's off.
Balin's
What
way
the
off
heck?
course.
Balin running towards Chris Brown. Maybe they're going to fight. I don't know. Nope. What the heck's going on?
At
Bracken,
that point,
I think
just
that's
continue
called.
down.
I
What's that?
heard there's a podcast with the name for this. It's called Race Brain.
That's race
And
brain
that's what
right
Balin
there.
Bean has right there. Yeah.
Good thing
Chris
he's got
Brown
a race
just
director
mocking.
next to him.
Right here.
Yeah.
That's probably where you came out. And then turn right.
Oh,
had a
that's
few-
just the
few-
absolute worst.
Well, it says trail closed in
So the
blue,
white
so you
flag's right at the end of the
probably
trail there where the
subconsciously
yellow
think
skirt
that
is.
that's not allowed.
He's got to run back
that
uphill. After running up this mountain twice, the last thing he wants to do is head back uphill, knowing that he just wasted time, praying that no one's caught him for that spot in the meantime. Now he's blind to the backside of the mountain. Did someone pass me? That's terror-inducing.
Yeah, Chris Brown. It's good seeing athletes like him out on the course. He typically is a race director for the trail division, or for the trail race, but he's shown up to 2 straight national series races, held his own, and we've seen him get as high as 2nd place at San Luis Obispo before at a national series race. So supreme talent, and it's just great seeing him out there, especially when he sticks his spear.
Yeah, and having guys like him and John Albin doing what they're doing on the trail side lends legitimacy to our sport. I love seeing his trail results and then watching John dominate the, oh, here we go, popping the top off, putting on a show. It's ultimate Chris Brown right there. KBB at his finest.
Yeah, one of the best personalities in the sport, definitely. He's super fun to talk to.
That's why he's the patron
Second
saint
place.
of race brain.
crossing the line in second place for the second straight National Series race. I don't believe he's going to get penalized and lose 10 minutes on his time. So if this holds, fantastic performance.
Caught some barbed wire, though.
Yes, he did. So Chris actually is the longest racing or longest tenured elite athlete in OCR. He made his debut in December 2010 at the Malibu Sprint, where he ended up winning the race. Then his next race, he ended up racing at the 2012 Sacramento Beast, a race where you were at, Bracken. And then he took off 6 years because he was doing his trail thing. Comes back at the SoCal Beast, and then in 2018, and then he's raced several races since then. But in terms of first podium, the last
Did you say
podium,
December 2010?
December 2010, yeah.
Oh,
Before Hobie even. It's the only,
No.
yeah, Jung Young Pak is probably the only, yeah, Hobie's first race is 2011 in SoCal. So he predates him.
yeah.
Yep. So, but
There's always a new
realistically,
wrinkle to the
start the-
KBB story.
I know he's on his 14th or I guess 15th separate season of racing since he started OCR. It's crazy to think that the sport's been around that long. We're always talking about, growth of the sport and whatever, but 15 years, that's a professional career in other sports.
Balin Bean has sure earned it today.
I'm impressed
Did
with
it
this
the
guy.
hard
He's
way.
only
Went out aggressive. He's paid for it, but he still hung on. And every time we've seen him, other than right now, he still looked fast and aggressive.
I was like, this is the first time he's slowed down. He is very impressive on the obstacles when we've seen him on camera. Super aggressive, kind of seems like Aaron Newell, just like going at it with absolutely no fear, knowing that his grip is good enough where he's not going to fall off. A fantastic climber. He went out hot. I think that his strategy, maybe Hawk's a little dead today. I'll take out the lead. In hindsight, it might not have been the right move, but hey, you got to give him credit for going to the front and knowing that he belongs.
You can run for the podium, or you can run for the win. And he ran for the win. Still wound up with the podium, and he's going to hurt a little bit more than the two guys ahead of him to do so.
He's feeling it.
I really hope he hits this and reaps the rewards of how hard he ran. And that penalty loop is just the killer. And that was
he already did a penalty loop. Listen, he went off course.
Getting off course.
He did a penalty loop. Yeah.
And that's what I'm saying. Like that was kind of the kiss of death for his energy.
There
Oh,
we go.
scraped
Nailed
it over
it.
there. Good for him.
Balin Bean. So Hawk Call is 24, 25 years old. Balin Bean is 22 or 23. We've got some young talent in the sport right now.
Future of OCR is in good hands. And he looks like
Ethan
he's
Brown.
taken the next step developmentally, physically.
Bigger than last year.
Yes.
Yeah, and Ethan Brown, Isaac Sanderson, he's in his mid-20s. Ethan Brown's like 21, 22. So the whole top five besides old man Chris Brown, full of athletes who are in their early to mid-20s. It's a good
This
sign.
thing is so slow to pan with it.
It really is.
And especially if we can get
Isaac
some of the
look-
old names to come back. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, that'd be great to see the meeting of the eras. Isaac just looked pretty strong and composed there through monkey bars, heads on off towards the end, and now we have, looks like, two people coming blasting through, three maybe.
Yeah.
Here comes Bailey.
Yeah, Balin's ready for this race to be over. Just
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah,
well
this is a
deserved
hard-earned
third place.
third place. Exactly. Hawks all cleaned up and changed.
Yeah. Just prepping for tomorrow's race. Just kidding.
Might as well get ready for that Greek trifecta.
Yeah.
Bam looking like he's our first finisher in the Spartan triathlon today.
He's got the outfit. Well, this is the second straight race Balin Bean is going to find himself on the podium at a National Series race. The man has solidified his place as a big threat in this sport. And I think being in his early 20s, he's going to be a name to watch for a while. I was very impressed with what he did right here. Started an age group a couple years ago and has worked his way up to multiple National Series podiums in the same season. He's got a good future.
He's only going to get better.
Way to go, dude.
I think a course like Seattle, if he's able to make it there for the North American Regional Championship, he's got wheels also, and he lives in Washington. Look out for them there.
Now, no one wants Nick Mask on that course. I'm calling it right now. Nick is going to wax the field. However, Balin's going to have a good showing.
My times in 2024 were good.
100%. That's Nick Mask territory. He knows it. He's been hiding from people this whole year just so they don't know how fast he is. He's going to dominate people there.
In case the ladies in.
Nick, I'm watching you on Strava. I know
I don't
exactly
have my mic
what
with me,
you're
but it's
doing.
okay. You should be able to hear you. Anyways.
Down to Hawk and Jason.
So you
Dupree.
raced yesterday.
Yes.
Tell us about that.
Yeah, it was the Speed Goat 28K. So it was about 19 and a half-ish miles with like 6,500 feet of vert, I think. And so, yeah, basically it's over up at Alta. I forget the name of the ski resort. Snowbird. Over at Snowbird.
So not far away.
So yeah, not far away, honestly. Just like 45 minutes that direction. But yeah, it was brutal. It was an awesome race though. It was a ton of fun. And then yeah, I was like, I'm gonna basically my idea for this weekend was for yesterday. I was like, I'm gonna push just hard enough to win so that I can try to conserve some energy for today. I was like, so basically the whole goal was go just fast enough to win both races in the weekend.
Wow.
I was like, and it worked out. So
you took it home
good.
yesterday too.
I
Awesome.
did. Yeah. I took it home yesterday.
That's fantastic.
And then yeah, today just tried to reserve myself a little bit for the first half, and then the second half just coasted in. So yeah,
It felt good.
it was good. It did feel good. Yeah. So my ankle, I
Yeah.
rolled my ankle pretty good yesterday, so I was a little concerned about that on today's race. So a lot of the technical descents I took a lot slower than I normally would, but I was like, I'm not gonna hurt my ankle for. I was like, I've got some big races coming up next month, so I was like, I'm gonna play it a little safe. But
And you had plenty of a gap, so it worked out.
yeah, it worked out good.
I mean,
Yeah.
you even stopped and took a rock out your shoe.
I know, there's a big old rock, and it was not. I was kept on trying to kick it to the front of my shoe, but it wasn't moving. It was just stuck right under my heel. I was like, forget it. I'm taking it out. So
And then the penalty at the spear throw.
I know. Big Bear, I threw too soft, and so today I was like, I'm not making that mistake again. So I chucked it, and then I threw it too hard, and it just hit like, I don't know, a couple
Right at the
inches
top.
above the. Yeah, bounced right off that wood backboard. So
Yeah.
that was unfortunate, but
Well, awesome job, dude. Congratulations.
thank you.
Good to see you.
See you too.
We're gonna do a top.
Oh, to be
imagine
able to
being
go
like-
just hard enough to win.
Exactly.
In
In
major
2 straight
races.
days. Yeah. Unreal.
It's a-
That's
As
it
a
makes it's like when you
talented,
see
in-shape individual.
it's like when you see people run rounds in the 1500 or the 100 or something. They're like, oh yeah, I shut it down with like 400 to go, and it's like, wait a minute, everyone else is dying behind you, and you're just like, oh well, that was good enough. I'm saving it for next time. Unreal, the fitness that some people have.
It's a strategy I need to try more of. He said I tried to conserve the first half and coasted in the second half. That to me sounds like the race I want to run.
It's hard to do.
See Lauren making her way down to
And
the finish here.
I was like, which woman caught up to Lauren? And it's the other Lauren. So
Lauren Griffith still on the camera, following her all the way down from the peak.
yeah, Lauren Weeks. I think that is Ethan right behind her, and I don't believe that Ethan, unless he's been passed, has fallen out of 5th place, and he's real good at obstacles. So for her to be a little bit ahead of him right there, she might still have top 5 as a possibility overall.
Did she just catch him on the trails, or did something else happen? Was there anything failable there? If that is indeed Ethan, and it looks like it is,
That's Ethan. That's Ethan right there. 2.5 hours in, she's ahead of a guy
how
who
she
got
opens up again.
over 20 podiums. Wow.
She just ripped that next trail section then.
She did.
Big overtake coming here.
Ethan's got this, I think.
Oh, they're gonna come off at the same time.
Oh, and then they go right back into bushwhacking if we.
Okay, I'll go with Lauren then.
Yeah.
Oh man, she's so impressive.
So it was,
She really
I thought
is.
so too.
I mean, what else is there to say about this woman? She has now proven to be
Doing good.
at the top
Keep up with
of one sport and near the top of a second sport. And the two sports don't have a ton of crossover between. This is a
This
fast
looks like
monkey bar.
Grayson Kilgore, but that doesn't make. That's Grayson, yeah. Unless he ran age group earlier, but yeah, Grayson's one of the fitter athletes out there. He moved. That was real impressive how quickly he got through those monkey bars.
Yeah. Yeah, that
Yeah,
was
this
just
season
powering
we've
through.
seen. Yeah, this season we've seen Lauren Weeks be the first woman ever under 32 for Decafit, and now she's winning a national series race, and she got second at High Rocks World Championships. Her fitness is impressive.
And
right now.
first person under 59 for a High Rocks.
Yeah, that's another accolade. 2023 has been
Just
okay, or
ridiculous.
2024 has been okay for her. Yeah, and you can just
A
see
lot of
if you
excited
just
people
flat-
right now.
Yeah,
Full
if
of
you just
energy and
flashback
excitement.
couple of hours, how many of the top athletes were walking at this point? None. And now it's time for the rest of the people to go out there, and a lot of people are going to be on the course for probably 4 to 6 hours at this pace right here. So
I chased them down.
Yeah,
Gonna
they're
have
going to
some
earn
good
it out
views
there
for a
today.
while. Yep.
If you want to just go put that back in the room, you can, and just I'll catch you later.
Don't
I'm gonna
know
go
who this
try to
is.
Get the women.
Kids race.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I was like, that
Oh, okay.
that person's real small for being up at the front.
All right, I'm gonna go chase the women in. All
It's the next gen.
right, thanks, man.
Yep. So yeah, we're about 2.5 hours in, and if we're looking at Ethan Brown, who ended up racing Utah, but he did the national series in 2022. His finishing time was 2:30:53. So this is already, and he's fitter than he was back then. This is already a longer course duration wise than it was a couple years ago.
Yeah, I think they added about a mile, or maybe not a
Yeah.
mile. I think they added 1,000 feet of climbing.
Climbing for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, not a mile of distance.
Yeah, and-
1,000 feet of vert.
Yeah, and actually, Ethan, he did the Beast last year in Utah, even though it wasn't part of the National Series race, and it was 2:55:13 for his finishing time. So
See, sir,
maybe
place
we're
women
more on
yet?
pace to last year.
Okay.
It was Big Bear. We added 1,000 feet.
Yeah. Oh, that was nasty. So we haven't seen second place. You think it's going to be Casey or Lisa? It's been a while.
I'm gonna chase,
Purely based
Lauren
on
all the way through the field.
historical track record,
You can.
Casey's going to work her way back up to it. But based on the visuals we saw today, we never saw Lisa not looking dynamic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she seemed to be a little bit more, Lisa, a little bit more aggressive on the downhills when we got, isolated. Here's focusing on her for 30 seconds in a row versus Casey. So that would be my guess, just without having an update for a while. And I think that she had like a 2-minute, 15-second gap or so, maybe 90 minutes in. So that's pretty big to overcome, especially when Lisa seemed to be the better descender and a lot of descending left in the race.
Yeah. And all that being said, we never know what's going to happen during that big descent down. We saw with Lauren that had someone been in range at all, they would have swallowed her up. We saw multiple men go by and disappear. Granted, she ran them right back down afterwards, but anything can
She was
happen on that
tiptoeing.
final descent. Lot
we
of
saw Hawk
time
Call.
to make up ground.
Hawk Call rolled an ankle at no guarantee you're going to get out of that thing without an injury.
No, not at all. I'd love to get eyes on this final stretch through there. I'd love to see Lauren and Ethan. What kind of battle that
Yeah,
turns out to be.
That's the battle. Yeah, because Ethan and I were like back to back. I reached the That is Grayson, yeah. I reached the festival area just ahead of him in Big Bear, so it's like, oh wow, Lauren would be chasing me down right here if I was in the race.
You gonna stick with her through the end?
Just waving.
All right, I'll take second.
Yeah, I mean, Lauren clearly is not pressing at the moment. That was just relaxed, nice and easy. Makes you wonder, like, if we did have a Chris Rogloski or Rose Wetzel, who's had a lot of success at this venue in the past, how the race may have changed. Because Rose, I feel when she's at,
continue on that Rose train.
I was just gonna say, Rose typically goes out hard but smart hard. Like she's always there, but not foolishly fast at the beginning. You never really see her fade. And Lauren clearly went out at the same type of effort where it's like she's not fading. She went out at what she can sustain throughout the whole race rather than falling apart at the end. You can see her smiling, nice and easy at this point in the race, like piece of cake for her.
Yeah, I'd love to see how her climbing today matches up against some of the top women, because it looked the part. Obviously, that final descent could have left her open to some blowback, but she looked like she could climb with most of the women in the sport today.
And we saw the winner of the first two National Series races, Andy Doobie, was not here due to an ankle injury. This is not the course to go out if you're having any second thoughts about your ankle. I think that would have been a disaster, or potentially risked a serious setback for her. So unfortunately, she's not going to be a factor in the overall point series, like we mentioned before, which kind of stinks that she won the first two. But it would have been great to have seen just the climbing of Lauren against Annie's climbing, because Annie's one of the best in the sport regardless, uphill, downhill, and it would have been great seeing her.
Yeah, and that's that next level of mountain running. Annie is probably not someone Lauren climbs with, but it would have been fun to find out today.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'll need to look it up just to see how Annie would have done relative to the men in Big Bear. But so she finished in 1:22:39, and that would have placed 7th overall in the men's race, or if you combine the men's results right there. And Annie was
what was her percent of Hawk?
At Big Bear?
Yeah, so we can compare that apples to apples here.
It was 79%. So basically, if it's looking like Hawk was about 216 or so, does that sound about right? What she did today, or what he did today?
Yeah, 216 is the numbers in my head. Maybe Jason can hop in our ear.
Yeah, that means that I just ran that. So Lauren needs to finish under 251 in order to have that same ratio. And Hawk also missed a spear in Big Bear, so apples to apples comparison right there.
Excellent. 251 on the clock. 11 minutes to get it done.
See, for a comparable performance. So yeah, it looks like 2:16:37 for Hawk's time, according to Jason. Yeah, and if we're comparing that Big Bear race, Annie was about 2:45 behind or ahead of Ethan Brown. So we've seen Ethan on camera quite a bit right around Lauren. So there's our comparison. Like if she's within a few minutes of him, then that's a very comparable performance to what Annie did pre-injury.
Yeah, it's now Hawk's performance today is a little different. Obviously, if we're going to start really breaking down with the nuances, with the strategy
Fatigued,
of hold
rolled
back
an
and
ankle,
then coast in. There was none of that in Big Bear.
No. Yeah, that man raced a half.
But if she can be within a few minutes of 251, let's say she's 246 to 251. That tells me she's in range at least.
Yeah.
Is this Lisa now coming down? a long way off, but
Yeah,
camera's
that
got
is
some
got
decent
that zoom working. Yeah,
Oh, great job, man.
And is that Casey ahead of her? Or is that
looks like a black top. Casey was wearing blue
No, that's
socks, and I don't
never
see
mind.
blue.
Nope. So we just have, yeah, that would have been Julie Best in the red, I believe. So we just
Should be
have
red, yeah.
Lisa. It appears to be coming down the mountain in second place still.
Yeah, Lisa really has stepped up. She had 10 straight wins at one point in the past calendar year, and like I said, 4th in Big Bear. If she's sitting in second place and doesn't screw it up, this is the biggest performance of her life so far in OCR.
Yeah, we have entered don't screw it up territory. Nail your obstacles, hit your spear. And if you can't do that,
Lisa.
get through that penalty loop quickly. The work's done. It's time to not screw it up. I say that comfortably behind the microphone, seated on a chair.
But you've been in this position before where it's like all you have to do, just don't screw it up. And it'll go well.
Yeah.
Yep. 100% Lisa right there.
Obviously a big effort. We can never tell how someone's feeling by their visuals, but her visuals are good.
Mm-hmm. I agree. Smiling. You're not doing that at this point if you're having a rough day at the office. Just got right on it.
Right on.
There was no hesitation. Definitely playing the
Yeah,
safe
those are those
method,
signs of a
matching hands.
struggling athlete.
Yeah.
When they walk 10 steps up to it, take 3 deep breaths, then start wiping their hands. She just mounted and moved.
Yep. She's getting more vert, stepping on that higher step up also, like an extra foot. Yeah, she looks like she can keep going at this pace for a while. So unless Casey's right behind her and Lisa starts struggling on like the Herc hoist or something, I think that this is her race to lose second place in.
Now looks to be late in the race to be taking something in. Looks like it was a dark package, might have been Morton, might have been something else. But either way, she was taking in some calories there. But I like the idea of getting a little bit in right before the gauntlet. This will
100%
be
agree.
the closest thing to anaerobic high end on the course when you have to really exert at the end with the hoist, getting over some walls, picking some
Rope
stuff
climb.
up.
Yep.
I like topping off the
Yeah,
glycogen a little bit.
I agree. And I remember watching her on the first 5 minutes of this race. There was some woman who took out gel or some fuel, and it was Lisa like 5 minutes in. Usually athletes kind of wait, 30, 40 minutes into a race. That was very early to take it. And you can clearly see that fueling is a very important part of her race strategy, having done it several times on camera. So it's paying off.
Yeah, you can't feel this good late if you're supremely depleted. Feeling doesn't mean you'll feel this good late, but it means that you have the chance to, and she's obviously nailed that portion.
Starting with the jog. Okay, yeah, she's got more than enough energy at this point. You're not jogging with this thing 2:44 into a race.
No, she's not in slog mode. She's still working.
Now, going downhill, do you like keeping it on your shoulder, the bucket with the method on your shoulder? Or do you, because I know VJ, he sometimes flips it in front of him, like where it'll be as wide as possible, and he'll run with it in front of him rather than on his shoulder.
When it's really steep, I think that's the way to go.
Yeah.
When it's more gradual, I think shoulder's still good. But again, everyone's
More
shoulders
stable.
are different. Their mobility is different. Even like the angle of their neck. Some people have a nice shelf there. Some people don't. Atkins has that big puffed out barrel chest. He just has like a shelf back there in his shoulders. VJ makes his work really well. Finding that strategy for you seems to be real important.
Yeah. Stupid anatomy. Yeah.
Yeah. We can change that. Not change your anatomy. Although I'm sure you
I
can
was
find
like-
places for that, Jack.
Yeah.
But what I meant is we could make this
Nah,
a
you
front
can do
carry
that.
mandatory.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's put the pressure on. I saw a couple flags right there, and I thought that she was going to have to go into a barbed wire crawl. I'm like, that would be an
Ooh.
interesting obstacle. Like,
Yeah.
I know that there are some races in China where they'll have a sandbag, and then they'll have to go through the barbed wire with the sandbag and, remove it multiple times and stuff. I think that's pretty cool.
Well, color me
Minus the
impressed with
ripping
Lisa
potential.
today. We've both watched her do her thing on the coverage in Canada, but coming down here against known commodities in the U.S., she's really proving that she is who she appeared to be. And maybe even better.
Yeah. Grayson Kilgore's just dominating right there.
Yeah, where did he come from?
I think he did age group. He wasn't on the start line. Yeah.
He did age group and has caught the pros?
I think it's the gated issue where he might not have been able to race elite because of the gated system.
But he's running the
doesn't
top
race
10
often.
now.
I know.
Wild. Still running up things that are hikeable.
Yeah.
Taking more nutrition.
Better than the opposite, than hiking up things that are runnable.
And puking nutrition out, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
She's
just
dialed
like,
in.
It's like a grocery store. She's just eating, but smart. It's working for her. So colorful also. This terrain's not a bad way to finish the race.
Jack with the quote of the episode. She's like a grocery
yeah.
store.
You told me I could change my anatomy. So that was a good quote.
You interpreted it that way.
No, you definitely did.
I'm talking about obstacle innovation.
Yeah, of course. All right, so presumably she's got 3-4 obstacles left, and then that's it. Which actually, if we're looking at the race clock, where's Lauren Weeks? She should be, in theory, right around that 250 mark, right? 251, what we were calling out.
Yeah, so my assumption is that Lauren has finished and we've managed to not catch the finish. But who do we have coming up here?
No, that's Ethan.
That's Ethan.
That's
And
Ethan right
Lauren
there.
has
So,
not finished, and I will swallow my words.
yeah, eat those words. Got Lisa on cargo net right there, or A-frame.
Still moving with energy.
Ethan Brown, let's give him a shout out. Showed up to all three. I think points wise, because Hawk did not run all the races, Ethan is going to end up, if that's 5th place, he'll end up with 50 points, and Hawk has 46. Not that that matters for Hawk, but Ethan is your 2024 U.S. National Series points champion.
Yes, he is. Congratulations, Ethan.
There you go, Ethan. He's improved a ton over the past couple of years, and I mean, he races everywhere, races anyone, and solid performances all year.
He joins a list of who's who have been U.S. National Series champions.
Yeah. And in theory, assuming she finishes today, we haven't seen her for a while, Casey Monroe, points-wise, should have that, unless she finishes like 8 points behind Jordan and Julie, which I don't think is going to happen. Oh, here's Lauren approaching. 251 was what we said would be like the comparable time, so she is right there with an Annie Doobie level performance.
This is absolutely outrageous, the type of range this woman has shown this year. Because we've seen her do well at Spartan race before. That's not the shock. The shock is doing it at a National Series race and winning by 5-10 minutes. And conversational the entire time.
The whole time. Yep.
Not theoretical. Actively speaking with the rabbit the entire time and any volunteer she sees. And here we have Casey Monroe coming in.
Well, congratulations, Lauren Weeks, in the win. If we have to look at her previous major Spartan race performances, not DECA, not High Rocks, but she had a 6th place at Tahoe at the regional championship in 2021, and then 2 7th places at Utah in the Beast in 2021, and then 2023 she finished 7th in the Palmerton 3K. So this is by far her best major Spartan race performance. Another athlete I would love to see at a Trifecta World Championship, for instance, if she happens to be over there for a High Rocks major. Who knows what their schedule will look like. Casey Monroe, smooth and steady. I know that we saw Lisa matching her hands. Casey's going for the one per bar, so still clearly has plenty of grip left. Lisa's
Lisa up and
emerging
out of
from
the
the
barbed
second
wire.
barbed wire. Yep. Do you like that, having multiple barbed wires on the course or multiple of an
No.
obstacle?
Barbed
you want
wire
it
is the
one
worst.
and done?
It shouldn't
Barbed
exist at
wire
all.
is the worst. Get rid of the barbs. Have the wire.
I think it does matter. I think having it twice really is a game changer, because the second time you hit it and hips are really trashed, and it changes the nature of the barbed wire crawl. But personally, I don't think it should have ever been invented.
In OCR or just for properties to have barbed wire?
I'm not going to take a stance on fencing in general, but in OCR, the barbs are unnecessary. There's no need for that.
Yeah.
Low crawl, sure, do that. That's
Yep.
a great test of
Bungee cords,
Yep.
even steel wire. That's fine.
steel wire.
It forces the thing that you're trying to do is beat people up on your hip flexors, like get you crawling, maybe cramp a little bit. Some people will go faster because they're better crawlers and stuff. It's not to get cut up and risk getting, pricked by a barb.
Jack, it makes for
Jack that-
epic race photos.
Yeah, by Jack Goris, for instance, right there.
That's right. So Chris Brown's going to have some great shots. He's going to look like a fighter at the end of this one. He's got that eyebrow cut, forehead cut.
Who was it? Ian Hosick a couple years ago had that in Big Bear.
Ian might
He
have.
had the
Kent
eyebrow-
had a bad one at New Jersey back in the day.
Yeah,
I think Woods has had his share of. He had a thigh laceration, bunch of back stuff.
Oh yeah, he got stuck. All right,
Yeah,
let's
he
take
got
a look at
ensnared.
Lisa. Let's see. Does this give her a problem? No, she's strong.
Yeah, wow.
This might
There's
be
energy
3
you
pulls
can't
and
fake
done.
right here.
Nope. If you're comparing what we saw with Hot Call and Lisa Musacchio right here, Lisa's winning the strength department this late in the race.
Too bad we didn't get to see Lauren.
Yeah, that's
Did she just stand
valid.
up?
Okay.
Hand over hand.
One arm yank. She broke a
And
pulley.
then to finish off the barbed wire conversation, no barbed wire fail is complete without mentioning Rose Wetzel and Palmerton. Not seeing it until too late and flying headfirst
She gave it
into
a hug.
wrapping it around her rib cage.
It's a bold strategy, Cotton.
So again, I
But she
submit
won.
to the board.
Yeah.
Let's take off the barbs.
Get the barbs out. We're already hearing Giles is, reinventing things next year. Get rid of the barbs. Keep the low crawls. Get rid of the barbs. That's all we ask.
Casey
All right,
wrapping
Casey
up
with
hers.
Commanding third place position, it looks like, with Julie
Julie
Best in
Best.
fourth, a full bucket carry behind. And I think this late into the race, probably a little too much room to make up unless Casey misses her spear.
Yeah, and that's exactly it. It's too much to make up, but you're still in hope range. That if something goes wrong, you keep telling yourself, this loop is the same distance as a spear throw penalty loop. That's what's got to be going through your mind, and you stay with foot on the gas, hoping against hope that something could happen. You never wish people to fail, but you don't mind catching a break.
It's all about executing, like all the coaches say. All right, so Casey makes it around. Most people that I see go the blind corner first. Looks like Casey did the opposite. I don't see that too often on the high end of the sport.
No, clearly didn't affect her. She's through. She's on.
Yeah, no, easy.
But just a little bit tougher. You get to the blind corner when you're more fatigued, and you don't get to step across the clean corner towards the finish.
Yeah,
It just
Now
really
Casey's
bent
hiking
over
with
on
a
her power
purpose.
hiking.
Yep,
Yeah.
super low. Now, Bracken, you used to take some serious risk, especially in stadium races on that Z wall. You'd leap from, you pass that corner, so you just skip an entire end. No one's doing that 2 hours, 50 minutes into a race. Like it is very hard and a beast, but you can get away with that in a shorter, faster course, and it makes a difference.
Yeah, and in a beast, what's 4 seconds?
Versus if you miss it and now you have a 4-minute penalty, or
Exactly.
maybe not 4 minutes, but yeah.
I missed it in Killington one year. Not worth it.
10 out of 10 don't recommend.
Do not recommend. Completed 30 burpees and then headed to the tire flip and then the lake swim. Not the highlight of my day.
All right, let's see. Will Lisa hit this spear? I'm going yes.
Yeah, she seems locked in today. Not that that's a guarantee of anything, but she's done it all right today.
She won 10 straight races at one point during this past
year. I see the tip pointed up, though.
Yeah, it's too high.
Oh, man.
Okay, I was wrong. Yeah. But usually
she's going to do it the hard way.
Yep. Hot call style. Run that penalty loop. But yeah, my guess why I thought she was going to win or hit the spear was because I could see her getting second place at one of those local races if she missed a spear. But like if you hit the spear every single time, then you're going to have a much higher probability of winning instead of wasting a minute and a half, 2 minutes out on a penalty loop and someone's close to you. But I guess it's not going to make a difference. I think Casey's still a little bit too far behind to make up this gap.
Yeah, my guess is she's like maybe
4 or 5
6 or
at
7
least.
minutes.
Yeah.
I thought she was
since we saw
49 or 50 going over her own A-frame, Lisa.
Yeah, there's a lot of room in between. So she's done with the bucket carry, and Julie's a full bucket carry behind her. But even then, I still feel like Julie's probably 3-4 minutes behind Casey at this point.
Yeah, she's probably safe.
Yep.
But she can only fail one thing. She's skipping the first one. Her grip's fine.
There we go. Oh, are you sure about that? Wait a minute.
I instantly got a little bit more nervous.
Never seen that method.
I wonder if something wrong with her left hand.
That was different.
Julie's not far behind.
She still did a one-arm grip with her left hand at the end. That was maybe she didn't trust it, and then I don't know. That was weird.
I couldn't tell if she was squeezing the ring with that left hand or not, but you see chicken wing a lot in those situations when your grip's gone, but then you don't see skipping right after that.
No,
that's a conundrum for me, Jack. It's a new one.
I have
love to
never
hear the
seen
story.
that form before. Yep. Hey, Casey's as much of a veteran in the sport as anybody, so I'm sure
I'm not second guessing her
for that.
I'm sure there's a reason why.
Yep. Yeah, and we talked about how Chris Brown was the longest tenured athlete in the field, or just basically in competitive OCR. Casey Monroe, she had run 13 Spartan races before anybody else in today's field in Utah had ever raced a single time. So definitely the veteran of the field.
Hung up there a second.
Casey's made Casey's actually nearing 50 career Spartan Elite podiums. A couple more she'll get there. I think if she holds on to this third place, it's looking like she'll be at 46 in her lifetime. So she's had one every single year dating back to 2017, including the COVID year. So that's a very impressive longevity right there.
That's quite a streak.
Yeah.
And she's in it right now. She even power hiked a few steps of that slight uphill, but you're 3 hours into an altitude race. Of course you're going to be sitting in it right now.
Yep.
Lisa with the first sign of fatigue we've seen. We've seen everyone come off their extra loop that they've had to add on a different athlete. She's still fine. But like you have the exact amount of everything dialed in that you need, and that little bit extra seems to be just like a bridge too far. Still running though. This terrain is not, this incline is not a gimme at this point.
This is like the festival area at Big Bear, where it doesn't look steep, but it's just annoying enough where you're like, I just want this to be done. It's like 5 to 8% grade. But yeah, it's looking like Lisa Musacchio is going to get second place at the final race of the 2024 US National Series race. What a season she has had.
Yeah, and the people around her might say that she already had her breakout year, but this just to us, from our lens, is absolutely a breakout year for Lisa. And this race in particular, coming off of her championship in Canada, doing this soon after is just a really big announcement that she's a major player on the international scene now.
Yep. Lisa, this is her 18th elite podium since 2022. That's insane. She's basically been at the front of the pack almost every single race that she's run since then. And we knew that her 4th place in Big Bear was definitely no joke. A couple of those names didn't show up, and she just basically moved up the leaderboard accordingly. But she's here to stay. It's impressive coming
Casey
from the
not
East
looking
Coast.
to be struggling.
No, Casey, easy. Lisa looked real good on the Hercoist also, but Hawk, he was really struggling on it. So I wonder if the women's bags are a little lighter.
Nah, I'm just gonna say she's a monster.
Yeah. Wow, what a victory! Oh wait, that's not the finishing time. Sorry. But we already got Lauren's time, which was like 250 low. I don't think it was 251. I think it was 250
mid.
or something. Yeah. And then Lisa was 301 something. So Casey at this point probably has 6-7 minutes left. She'll probably be about 310 for the finishing time. This is a tough course. This is a long one. You can see Julie Best with the hat on in the inset getting through the barbed wire. I think she's in 4th place.
Yeah, these gaps really developed.
Yep.
Well, that was the fastest entry we've seen into Dunkel today.
Yep. She's probably so relieved, just wants to go swimming. What's the hottest race you ever run at, Bracken? Probably that one in the desert, now that I think about it, right?
Yeah, Dubai, both times was very hot. That was in the 90s. I've had some Miami races in the 90s. The Bahamas cruise, I don't know if it was, it was like 89 or 90, I think, in the morning when we started, but it was just like on a bare-faced rock of an island, just no shade. It was one of those where it was like being down on a track where it just amplified. That felt as hot as anything, but Dubai, by the end of the day, was probably 97. That was
you're just cooking alive.
3 hour and 47-minute race or something for me. That by the end, that was really hot.
Nasty.
Tell you what, though, the biggest swing, though, I did a run that was -14 with wind chill on Thursday, and then Friday flew down to Florida and ran a 91-degree race. And I'm no mathematician, Jack. I'll leave that to you. But over 100-degree swing in 48 hours hit me real hard.
That is a whirlwind change in temperature. That's crazy. I'd rather do the opposite, go from super hot to super cold. But
100%.
All right.
Yeah.
Casey doing the veteran move, which we've seen most athletes except Hawk go to the end, or the second to the end. It's also uphill. You can see it looks like the first spear throws targets are a little bit lower. The wind is ripping, though. Look at those flags. Just
that is just
rip
such a killer at the end of this. Really difficult. And I think... Go ahead.
Is Chris the only one who made it so far? Balin missed it, right? Or Balin did hit it?
Balin did his extra own penalty loop.
Yeah, okay. I confused his penalty loop. So he did the successful making it, but still do a penalty loop.
Yeah.
All right, so Casey probably has... Hawk missed it.
Did Hawk do the penalty loop backwards? No? I thought someone ran up and over.
we saw Chris Brown heading towards Balin. I don't know. Usually they're shaped like a spear, or not a spear, the shield.
Oh, is that what? Okay. So, maybe Balin threw me all off.
Balin's doing his own thing.
This last little bit here, Jack, you already said it, but this looks nothing like anything I've ever seen on Utah course.
No way. I just expected like the dry gravel. That's what I remember. They've used all parts of this course. Yep.
We said it on the Race Brain podcast in the week leading up to this race, but I'm going to reiterate it right now. Every single athlete who completes the Ultra today has earned it and then some. This, you can see it already. No Ultra this year?
No Ultra.
Really?
Probably too brutal.
Come on, Julie, you got this.
Well then,
no Ultra.
Jack, you got to cut my mic off.
But go on, say your point. Allegedly, if there was an Ultra, what were you going to say?
But these high altitude Ultra races are brutal, and now in this heat and sun exposure.
Yeah.
We had a buddy of ours, TJ, get rhabdo here one year, just pushing through to the end. It was just so hot. He ran himself right into rhabdo in one race.
Oh my gosh. Not worth it.
I mean, he didn't know. But yeah. That race trip got a lot more expensive.
Yeah.
If you think the Airbnbs are expensive at mountain towns, the hospital rooms are more so.
Yeah, if you're gonna get rhabdo, get it in like Canada or Europe instead. It'll be a lot cheaper. All right, yeah, Casey right there, just power hiking. She gets real bent over. I know Tyler Veerman does that often. Atkins as well. Clearly knows what she's doing. And yeah, she's doing 10 steps
searching
here, power hiking. Yep.
She is dredging the bottom of her fuel reserves, searching for every little ounce of advantage she can pull out of her body.
Julie just walked about 30 steps getting towards the rope climb. You know, she's ready for this race to be done also.
This in Utah contains some of the most broken athletes by the end of it. And I would say that this year...
This one is Utah.
I'm sorry, this in Tahoe.
Yeah.
At the very end of those races, you see people just on stilts by the end, you know, shaky legs.
Yeah.
And I think that this year is one of the best we've seen people's composure towards the end, but you're starting to see that this course just wears on you differently than some courses.
Yeah, this hurdle in particular, like no one's looked good going over that. And it's just at the end, and it's just a gradual slope, but I think it's the 3 hours of racing nearly that just accumulates and really gets you. All right, let's see if Julie ends up. And they've all looked pretty good
getting down through the A-frame, and then it's just like this extra spur where you already can kind of see where you should be done. You've got to kick away from it again. It seems to be really just sending them right over the edge of what they had allotted energy for. All right, Julie, be the outlier. Let's stick this thing.
You're on camera. Let's do it.
You talk about veteran. She's a veteran. Look at
Casey's
gripping real forward to the front of that spear. That's about as close to the front as I've ever seen someone grip a spear.
Yeah. So like two Montana athletes making the podium with Chris Brown and Casey Monroe. Casey with her third place finish in 3 races in the 2024 National Series race. Super impressive. She is your overall point series champion.
Locks up the 2024 U.S. National Spartan Race Series overall championship.
So if we look back, we had last year, did Janka win it overall? She had to. She was at basically all the races. And
I believe
on
so.
the podium. I think she did. I thought it was Manuel and Janka ended up. If not, Janka was second. But it's basically been Lindsay Webster or Nicole Miracle every other year. So not a bad list to be part of.
Wild to have Janka Popova be our North American champion.
And Manuel Defoe.
Yeah.
is
we
the
did
second
not
straight
have-
year.
Go ahead.
This is the second straight year that we have had the national series champion finish third place 3 separate times. So, which is what Manuel Defoe did, and now Casey Monroe in 2024. So I guess that's the secret formula.
Yeah, you just can't miss.
Yeah.
Got to be up there every race.
Yep. And it seems like an eternity ago that Lauren Weeks finished, but that was unbelievable effort overall. Just trying to piece together her time. So if she finished about 250 or so in the men's field, that would have been 7th place overall. That's one of the best finishes ever if you combine male and female performances in the same race. I know Lindsay and Amelia have done it a couple times. They finished about 8th place, and Nicole Miracle finished 5th or 4th in Jacksonville that year where it was super muddy. But yeah, this is one of the best relative to the pack performances ever by a woman in a national series race.
Come on, Julie, you got this.
So just to confirm, her range now is fastest woman in Spartan's own product, DecaFit, from sub 32. So at the 30-minute range, she's the best at hybrid. At the 60-minute range, she's the best first person under 59. And now at a 3-hour-ish range, she's our champion of the beast distance in the U.S. National Series. Just astounding range so far in this calendar year.
I'm done. Not A-frame.
You just run out of compliments after a while. It's just a shame that we didn't get to see Annie or some of the other typical contenders, Rose, who have done well in this course. But you still, if you compare her time relative to the male winner, and then you compare the same thing that Annie, who's proven over and over again in OCR, did in previous races, like Lauren's performance today was just about as good as any we've seen in a long time.
Yeah, and I'm sure there's going to be people online or in the comments or whatever saying, well, you can't compare race to race. And Hawk, kind of like I said earlier, Hawk came in depleted this time, but he didn't the time compared to Annie's. But like, we compare what we have. The data we have in front of us is the best data we have. It's the closest we can come. The best we can do is say that Lauren put on an all-time performance in terms of just take it at face value, National Series, female races.
Yeah, that's what it is. And that's the good thing about, comparing percent of winner. It's like, how fast can you possibly run that time relative to the fastest guy that day? And that's where you're comparing.
I believe we're going to kick down to the finish line for some interviews in a little bit here. In the meantime, enjoy Julie Best finishing off her race on screen, still power hiking away, trying to wrap up her top 5 finish.
Should secure 2nd place overall in the standings.
Hey, Lauren, can I talk to you? None? Oh, my goodness. I'm dead myself. How are you?
Did you just come down?
Up and down, up and down. All right, let me get myself together here.
You're good.
Here, can I put you in sunlight?
Over here?
Or put your face a little lit, not straight at it. Oh, perfect. Okay. Oh, Lauren Weeks, how's it going?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm good. You came out and raced today, but you've been doing a lot of Deca and high rocks, training for all that stuff. Why'd you come out today?
This is my home race, so I only live like an hour south of here. I try and make it every time that they have it. So this is my 3rd time coming out for the Utah one.
Man, you came out and crushed it.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Have you been running mountains lately?
No.
Oh my goodness.
No, I have not. I did a trail race last weekend, but I wouldn't say it was on a mountain per se. So this is definitely the toughest course I've been on since I was on it last year.
Well, how's it feel not running trails in a while?
It's hard. I mean, it's always hard. I love climbing. I love the ups, and then the downs that's what scares me. So, not my strong point.
Where in the course was super technical downhill besides this last descent into the festival area?
So there's like 3 kind of spots. So after the first uphill, you kind of pass like where a gondola would drop you off. And then there's some technical going down, what I think is technical, maybe other people don't, technical going downhill. But then the worst one is like right before Bender. There's like it's so short, but it's so steep. I think that one is by far the hardest technical piece. And then of course there's the whole downhill. Hi, baby. Thank you.
Well, you found yourself way out in the front very early, very quick. Did you realize, or you just doing your
No,
thing?
I had no idea. I mean, there's so many switchbacks that like when every time you turn, you're out of sight. So you don't know if you're 10 seconds out of sight, if you're a minute out of sight, or you have no idea. So I had no idea.
Yeah.
Oh, you want me to open
If you
it?
had to choose an obstacle, which one would be the hardest for you?
If it didn't have the kicker stairway, because I can't jump high enough to reach the holds. But with the kicker, it's fine because I just need to be able to like grab onto one of the holds. Besides that, ape hanger was really hard. I've never been on it before. I didn't even realize it was going to be here today. Did we have a camera on ape hanger?
Yeah.
Were you there?
I didn't get hurt though.
Okay.
You
were there.
Cool.
It was hard.
Yeah. Was it
Oh,
over water or just?
No, it was just over. I don't think it was over water. I didn't notice
Over
anybody.
water, you didn't have to lift your feet up, but
No.
everybody said the same thing though. It was unexpected and it was harder than
Yeah. So like it goes up, so you have to do like a full pull up. I mean, if you're short, at least to like reach the next one, and then it goes down again. But then there's another up. So like hopefully you didn't wear yourself out trying to do the pull up on the first go because you still have some more pull ups to do.
So, are you getting on a plane and flying with Isaac to Deca Ultra tomorrow?
I am not, but I'm gonna have a lot of FOMO. It looks like a lot of fun. The idea of an ultra combining with like fitness stations sounds like my favorite type of event, just one I've never done before. So I'm hoping that it happens again.
Yeah.
Yes, baby. Because I do want to try it, but not after this.
Well, amazing job today.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Appreciate it. Thank
It's great to see you out here.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, thanks.
Appreciate it.
I'll take that.
Oh.
I need to give people fist bumps first because they always do that. I'm trying to grab the thing and they, yeah. Did your husband tell him I asked him to grab it? Yeah. Good to see y'all. Too.
Well,
Lauren is
kinda sounds
delightful
like-
as ever.
Yeah, it sounds like what we
Yeah, I've been
expected.
trained.
You know,
Yeah.
great uphill, little scared of the downhill, and then the rest she just took care of business.
Sounds like she's been doing less mountain training than I
Than we
anticipated,
expected.
but
Yeah.
you wouldn't have known it.
No, not at all. But you often say that
She's over
flat
that way.
running speed translates to uphill pretty well. And she is as fast as anybody on the flats in hybrid space. So
Would you like to talk?
I know. She was looking at it. Not me.
Would you like to join in the
Would you
conversation?
like to join? Yeah. Should we talk about my pants?
Yes, let's talk about your pants. What happened?
I don't know. I was on that last little, what are those things called?
The hurdles?
The hurdles. I went over and
Got a
just
wardrobe
snagged it there
malfunction
for a
here.
bit, So, I mean, better the front than the back, I guess.
Good thing you're wearing black.
Yeah, good thing I had underwear on.
didn't even know.
So you guys were kind of in a bunch early on.
Yeah.
Lisa, you broke away at some point. Where was that, do you think?
When we started the first downhill, mile 2, you're gonna make me remember things that I can't. Yeah, one of the after the Olympus, we kept climbing, and then when we sort of were down that first long descent, right before you got to like the ape hanger, right before like the single tracking, I sort of downhill's been my strong suit, so I tried to sort of keep my footing and go down. So that's kind of when I passed. But the whole time I knew like Julie and Casey are really good climbers. So I just had you guys in my mind the whole time.
She's gotten dang good at climbs and downhills.
Julie, you were, when Casey was at the spear throw, you were at the Hercules. So you were not far behind. Did you feel like she was in sight the whole race?
Yeah, but like at mile 6, I started cramping it really bad. I've never had that happen before. I don't know what my problem is.
You can hold it a little.
I was on my, I had electrolytes the whole time. I don't know. I mean, horrible calf and quad cramps the whole time. And like the last mile, I just had to walk it because I don't know what my problem was. So I lost Casey on the last couple miles. Just not my day.
With cramps? Yeah. I drank a lot more this time.
I ran out of water too, so that sucked.
So you guys, have probably heard about the whole series thing and how you have to run all 3 races. Are you still happy you came today?
Oh, 100%. My goal is to run new mountains, have new adventures, challenge myself. So, like, I'm not necessarily doing it for the series, although it is disappointing. Like, ultimately for the sport, we want to see the best athletes come out and be incentivized to compete. So it's frustrating. But all the people are amazing here. Like, this is just, everyone has a blast, and this is a new mountain that I checked off my list. So
Good positive outlook.
Yeah, it's amazing. Yeah.
A lot of us girls do it for the fun. We're all friends. We love to race each other, and we like to go to cool, fun locations, and we do it for fun.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's good.
Yeah, there's a lot of conversation around that stuff, but that's why we all started in the first place, right?
Right. Yep. And I think a lot of people are like forgetting that.
Yep.
And thinking it's all about the money. And I think when you get to that point, sometimes you kind of lose what you do it for. So, wrote on my arm just in case I forgot. You can barely see it now. It says "for the love of the sport."
That's awesome.
So anytime I was suffering, I just look at my arm.
That's fantastic.
I love that. But that's so true. Yeah.
We're gonna make that a reel for sure. Anything else about the course? Any spots that really tore you up?
I mean, this technical downhill running, like, I mean, I absolutely love it. It's different. Like, East Coast is like gnarly, like mucky, mud, rock, and like tree roots. This is just like slick, hard packed. Like, you have to pay attention. I wanted to look at the views, and then I'd be like, no, you have to watch your feet. But yeah, and the hills were like
Loose rock.
Loose rock. Yeah.
A
So
lot
you
of
slip.
really steep climbs where you were going like pretty dang slow, just one foot in front of the other. So yeah, it's a tough course. I know that people say Big Bear is harder, but I almost feel like this one is.
I almost do too.
I guess it's just a different kind of technical.
I
love
agree.
them both though. So yeah.
It's great. Yeah.
If you had to pick an obstacle, which was the hardest?
Ape hanger.
Yeah.
It needs to be the
I
consistent.
think it needs to be tighter.
Yeah, it went up like really, really high.
You can't reach it.
You can't
reach it.
Like no
Like,
matter
even,
how far
like,
I
all the
like,
way
pull
up?
and try to swing for it, you can't reach it. I don't think. I mean, I'd be surprised if any of the girls made it.
Wow.
So.
Men were saying the same thing.
Yeah.
All right. I really think they just need to make it tighter.
Yeah, because I think almost all of us. I mean, at least that when we were in the pack,
yeah,
all of us would make it to the very top one, and we were like, oh well, guess we're done. We just dropped. So.
But I like to see it, so
yeah, love that.
I don't mind a challenge. I just
yeah, agree.
Anybody y'all want to shout out?
My husband for letting me go to all these races all the time and supporting me and coming with me. So
same thing. My husband as well. Yeah.
Fantastic.
He does the same thing. He's like, it's not about the money. It's just go have fun. Like, where do you want to go next? Like, what cool mountain do you want to see? So, yeah.
Couldn't do it without them.
All right. Well, congratulations, y'all.
Thank you
So
guys
good to
really
see
much.
you.
Appreciate the coverage and the
Absolutely.
support.
Congratulations with this girl.
Thanks.
She is a freaking amazing girl. She's worked hard. Worked dang hard.
Thanks.
Thank you guys so much. Appreciate
Good to see you.
it. Thank you guys.
There you go.
Thanks. Thank you.
Sandra, good job. How was it?
It was good. It was tough.
You mind if we talk for a second? I know you just finished.
Yeah, sure.
How was the?
Great job. I'm glad your shoulder held in there.
Did you feel rested up after Morzine?
Decently.
Yeah?
Yeah. But I definitely need to work on my descent, so I couldn't miss this opportunity today.
Yeah.
Come out here.
Good place to practice.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know how you came in? Where you finished?
Not sure.
I think you were like 5th when I saw you most of the race.
I probably stayed there because Julie,
Julie was
Casey,
4th.
Lauren, Lisa were ahead of me. I don't think anyone else was. So
Yeah.
that's 4?
I think
Yeah.
you're 5th. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, tired right now a little bit.
Yeah, well, great job. Anything I feel like they kind of got you a good ways in.
Yeah, I messed up on the Olympus there. I opted for the more comfortable shoes, but it's the worst grip compared to the VJ shoes. So that's okay though.
Did you have any fights with anybody after that?
So I think I was like back in 8th after I was going because the Olympus penalty loop was long and they took you through water and street brush, which like was not the most runnable. So that got me all the way back to 8th. So then I passed a girl like a little bit shortly after that, starting to climb. And then a couple more women like after that as it was kind of progressing. So then I started to like put some gaps on like the second climb and onward.
Awesome. Well,
Yeah.
Great job. Well, congratulations.
Thanks.
Do you feel recovered? Did you feel recovered before this race?
I felt pretty good. Did I feel like I had an extra gear today? No. At elevation, no. But if this was a flatter course, I probably would have felt even better. But that is exactly why I came here, though, to have more challenging course. And it's really good to put yourself, as long as you're not completely in the hole. If I was really not in a bad place, it would have been a bad idea to come here. But this was like a really good, hard workout.
Yeah.
Doing the best that I can, and like that's how you'll build fitness in the long run and things to work on.
Awesome. Well done.
Thanks so much.
Congrats. Thanks so much for talking.
Thanks.
Go get some rest and get hydrated. I think we lost Casey. Casey looked like she jetted out. All right, we lost Casey. She jetted out. We're going to call it there. Good job, my rabbits, Chris and Chipper back that way. We had Gary Bellinger and I'm blanking. Two other ones. Oh, Lauren Griffith. Amazing job. And one more. I'm blanking on her name. Call it out, guys. Thanks. See you next time.
I believe that was Kathy. Is it Jason? Is that right?
Give her a shout out.
Yep. Kathy Brooks. Well, ladies and gentlemen, Kathy Gross. My fault, not Brooks. That race more than lived up to my expectations, Jack. We got the full Utah experience. We had some last minute turnouts from athletes and some close battles all the way through to the finish. And we got to see a High Rocks world champion show up and prove that she's every bit as good at DECA and Spartan as she is at anything else. So great day of racing for the fans, for our sports. And again, Jason, OCR report, great coverage, putting out a product that can help grow the sport.
Couldn't have said it better myself. And we just saw Hawk Call solidify himself as arguably the man to beat in North America right now. Casey Monroe misses consistency the whole season, taking home the win for the point series. Ethan Brown taking it on the men's side. It was just a fun course to watch. Brutal, hot, nasty descents, nasty climbs. And, we saw really good mountain runners end up at the front, even if they don't practice on mountains like Lauren Weeks. But yeah, it was a fantastic race. And let's pull up the results real quick. Right. Just a quick little recap, and then we'll send it out.
Sit on the men's side. Hawk Call came out and did what Hawk Call has done every time we've seen him recently, and that is just front run from the start and all the way through to the finish. Chris Brown, though, 4 minutes back in second place. Neither of these gentlemen do we know would be there, and so exciting to see them show up and liven it up a bit. Balin Bean cementing himself as a national series contender every time he shows up in third. And then rounding out 4 through 10, Isaac Sanderson, Elmer King, Ethan Brown, Al Gonzalez, Michael Mansfield, Mike Higuera, and Vadzim Yazikin. How'd I do on that, Jack? I butcher that?
I'll give you like a B. Seemed okay, but probably not correct.
B's get degrees. Why don't you take the female side?
All right. With a dominating win, Lauren Weeks, 2 hours, 50 minutes and 5 seconds. 11 minutes later, Lisa Musacchio getting her first ever second place finish at a national series race, and Casey Monroe for the third time this year picking up a third place finish to round out the podium. 4 through 10, Julie Best, Cassandra Gill, Rachel Munoz, Kirby Crawford, Jordan House-Sladen, who looks like she picked up third place in the series based on that finish. Noah Morrow in 9th, and Sheridan Santinga in 10th.
And then, Jack, will you please, for the listeners, run through the champions now of the United States National Series presented by Spartan Race?
Yep. And as we mentioned before, you had to run all 3 of the National Series races. And it looks like a bunch of people didn't end up running all 3 races, but rules are the rules. And it looks like Ethan Brown took home the win. 6th place finish here, and a couple other 3rd place Jacksonville and 7th place in Big Bear. Dustin Needham, 2nd place, run a bunch of races, over a dozen podiums, and Tyler Powers getting 3rd for the series with 15 points. On the women's side, Casey Monroe ended up taking the win, 57 points. Third place, 19 points every single race. Julie Best in second place, and Jordan House-Sladen finishing in third with 40 points on the year.
And so now Spartan itself continues on. Series progresses, not the series, but the season progresses. They head out to West Virginia, a previous location several times for our North American Championship race. But the North American
Seattle.
Championship race in 2024 will be in Seattle, heading back for the first time for a national event there in several years. And we know this course, Jack. We know it well. We've raced it. We've commentated it. We've watched it over the years. This has the ability to be an extremely fast course or an extremely nasty course. And the only difference is how much rain they get. And so we don't know exactly what we'll get, but we do know we're going to get a very, very compelling race up there. The North American Championship race is always the best race in the United States each year. And I'm excited to see what's going to happen up there.
100% agree. We'll look out for it in September. OCR Report will be there with the live coverage. All right. Well, thanks everybody for tuning in. Hope you enjoyed watching Utah, the final stop of the 2024 U.S. National Series race, brought to you by the OCR Report. Make sure that you check out their YouTube channel and check out the Running Public and Race Brain if you want some more OCR and hybrid content.
Once again, I'm Bracken Crocker for Jack Bauer. We will see you next time in Seattle.